In this course, we're gonna learn how to build a full Spotify clone from scratch, including adding new songs, adding playlists, playing those songs in the player, repeating the playlist, and more functionality that we actually know and love in our Spotify app. I'm Sean Zimkov, a full-time Bubble developer, traveling the world and doing content like this to teach you how to do it as well. Now let's make a little preview of the app and what's the functionalities that we're gonna build before we dive into the content of this course. Now in the home page you will be able to see all the songs and also play them. Now we have a wall that protects us from using features when we're not logged in and where we're not subscribed. So it will look like that. It will prompt me to log in. We're also gonna learn how to paywall and gatekeep features in the same manner. So now when I want to play the song, it asks me to log into my account. If I want to add a playlist, it asks me to log into my account. And we don't even have the option to add songs before we sign up or log in. So let's sign up. I will just put my tutorials email here and sign up. Now that we've signed up, we can see that we actually have this add song also, but we need to still subscribe before we can actually use any of the functionalities. We can't play any songs yet. We need to actually subscribe. So you're gonna learn also how to make a subscription payments with Stripe. So here I can press on my account icon here, the people icon, and subscribe to a plan. Now it will prompt me with this modal to subscribe for $9 a month. I can press subscribe. Because we're on Stripe test mode, I can just enter a dummy credit card. So Stripe accepts as test payments this number of credit cards. This is the number that is the test number. This doesn't matter, it just needs to be valid date and not past date. So let's subscribe. Great. Now that we've subscribed, we can actually use all the features in the app. So if I go to the home page and I want to, let's say, make some favorite songs list, I can just add them to my favorites. I can also remove them in the same manner. I can go to the liked songs and see all the songs that I liked. I can create a new playlist, let's call it workout, and I can actually add to this workout playlist a bunch of songs with this cool sidebar. So you see all the animations that we're also gonna learn how to do. We can search for the songs that we want and we can just add them like this. Now we have 4 songs in our playlist. You can see it also adds the images here, so it's super nice and mimics the actual functionality that we have in Spotify. Now we can play the songs, but before that I'll show you how we can add songs. We can add the title and author and upload an audio file for the song. You can just search on Google MP3 and find the song. You will see it also in the tutorial, and select an image and create the songs for yourself. And now for the most important functionality in this app, we are able to play a song if we just click on one song. Okay, as you've seen, it started playing it, but I won't play it because of copyright. So here you can see we have our player. Let me move myself a little bit. We have our duration of the song that we can control. I will just mute my computer. You can see that we actually can control the duration. It auto-plays it. When we click on another song, it will auto-play it. When we choose only one song, the functionality will be different when we press those buttons, forward and backward. So when it's just a single song and not part of a playlist, it will jump 10 seconds. As you can follow here, when I click forward, it jumps 10 seconds, and backward 10 seconds. And also we have a little display of the song here, so we know which song we actually hear, and we can like or dislike it from here. Of course, everything is also mobile friendly, so we can see everything here is responsive and everything works as well. So we're gonna learn how to do that. Now for the main feature that I like with this player, we can actually hit the play here for the whole playlist. And now it starts for the first one. And when we press on forward, it will go to the next song, Lose Yourself, after Till I Collapse. Now I also added a repeat functionality. So if we press on repeat twice, we have this one icon and the green repeat icon. It makes the whole song repeat itself when the song ends. Usually when the song ends in a playlist, it will go to the next song, but as you can see, it just restarts the same song. If I untick that, we can see that it will just travel to the next song, not like us. But if I do only once, without the one inside, we can see that this functionality will play the whole playlist from the start. So now it should go to the last song, Rap God. And when we finish Rap God, it should go back to Till I Collapse, to the first song of the playlist, because we pressed this functionality. Now let's see what happens when we play Rap God without this functionality. It will just stop the song and won't start another one because the playlist is over. So before we start with the build of this course, let's just walk through a follow along document that I've prepared for you, for it to be much easier to follow this course and build it the right way. You will have the link in the description that you can actually catch this follow along document. You can duplicate it and just tick it as you go. And now you have here the database structure and everything that we're gonna need. We have the option set here and all the option sets that we're gonna use, the styles that we're gonna use, some additional resources like the MP3 of Till I Collapse, the image, the like song image, some resources and the materials that you're gonna need while building this app. And we have here a comprehensive checklist for each feature that we're gonna build in the order that we're gonna build it. So you can just tick it as you go when you finish, also have some sense of accomplishment, and just use it as your guideline to see how well you're doing in the course and how much did you accomplish this far. So let's start with the build. In order to kick off the Spotify clone build, we'll need to start by configuring the database, adding some option sets, defining some privacy rules to protect our data, and defining some styles in order for the app to look good and clean. So I'll start by adding the data types. The first data type will be the song data type. We'll need a subscription data type, the playlist data type, and also the favorite song data type. Before I'll explain about the data types, let's go ahead in the option sets and add the option set menu, option set sub menu, and the option set subscription status. For the subscription status, we'll need the options active and cancelled. For the sub menu, we'll only need one option, but it's great option set to have because if we want to add more features later on, and it will be easier in terms of maintenance, and the app will support it already. So for the option set menu, we'll need the home tab, the search tab, the playlist tab, and also the settings tab. Now let's go back to the data types and start configuring those. So we'll add some fields to the data types. For the user, I'll only need the subscription data type linked to the subscription data type. That way we can check the subscription status if it's active or cancelled. For the subscription, I'll add the start date of type date. I'll add the end date of the subscription. Also, it should be a date. I'll add a subscription ID that we'll get later on from the Stripe API. It will be a type of text. And the last thing, it will be the status of the subscription, and we'll get it from the option set, subscription status. For the song data type, I'll need to add the audio file So we'll call the field audio file and it will be the type of file. Here we'll store the MP3 file of the song. Each song should have also a title of type text. It should have an image, type image, and also we need to store the author, so it will be also a text. For the playlist data type, we'll need to keep there a list of songs, so I'll link a list of songs into the field songs. Each playlist should also have a name of type text, and each playlist should belong to a user, so we'll link a user to the playlist. The last data type is the favorite song data type. Here we just need to add a link to the song that belongs to the favorite song and also the user that the favorite song belongs to. So that way we can search for the favorite songs in our app, where the constraint is the favorite song is this current user's favorite song, and it just brings us all the songs. Now, in order for the data to be secured, we'll go to the privacy tab and add some rules. So for the favorite song data type, I'll define a new rule called users favorite, and each favorite songs that the user is current user, that it will have access to this data type. Otherwise, I won't allow any permissions to everyone else. For the playlist, we'll do the same. It will be called users playlist rule. And this playlist user is current user. So when this expression is true, it will allow permissions for the user. Now for the song, I will leave it publicly visible because we need to access all the details there, even if it's not the current user song. I'll go to the subscription data type and add user subscription rule, and I'll choose when this subscription creator is current user, that it will allow all the access. Otherwise, I don't want any access for everyone else. And for the user, there's already a defined rule built in Bubble, and this is okay, so I'll just keep it like that. Now let's go to the follow along document in Notion and tick that we finished configuring all the data types and their fields. We also can see here all the option sets that we already added. And now for the styles. So we need to take these styles, colors, go to the styles tab inside the Bubble editor, and then click on the styles variables to get to this page. And here on the primary field, we'll just add this color. I'll go and grab all the colors, so the background should be this. Let's paste it. The surface should be this color. I'll paste it here. The text color should be this one. And now we have surface 2 and background 2, so we'll just rewrite this primary 10 to be the surface number 2. Because we won't use the primary color, we'll just use this surface number 2 and background number 2 colors. So I'll change here the primary 20 to be background number 2. And that's it. I'll paste it here and we're ready. So we've configured here all the style variables and all the colors we're gonna use in the app. This way we can make the UI consistent and it will be easier to maintain the app afterwards. And we also configured all the data types that we need for the app and their fields, the privacy rules to protect our data, and the option sets that we're gonna use. So let's just go back to the follow along document and tick that we finished setting up the database, configuring the option set, setting up the privacy rules, and defining styles for consistent UI. Great job. This Spotify clone is gonna be a single page app, SPA as they call it. And we're gonna use the same index page for the entire app, but we're gonna use a lot of reusable elements and leverage their power in order to keep the app organized and maintainable. Now, before we start changing the main page here, we'll go on a rampage of creating some reusable elements. So the first one will be called login or sign up pop-up. We'll create this reusable element. We'll change the group type of element to be the pop-up. I'll change the background color to be background 2. The roundness should be 10. I'll go to the layout tab and I'll change the default builder width to 400 and the min height to 400, so we have some space to work with. For the paddings, I will change it to be top 16, bottom 32, left 16 and right 16. I'll also want the container layout to be aligned to parent. Now that this is done, I'll go and take a group and drop it here. I'll make the group aligned to the top middle and I'll change the name of the group to be login or sign up form. I'll tick the box of gap spacing between elements to be 24 row gap. I'll change the paddings to be 16 top, 16 bottom, 8 left and 8 right. Now this is it for this group. I'll take a text element, drop it inside the group. I'll just make it horizontally aligned to the middle. I'll go to the appearance tab, change the text to welcome back. I'll make the font size to be 24 and I'll bold the text. Now I'll take this text, copy and paste it. I'll change the text to be login to your account. I'll change the font size to be 16. I want the weight to be 500 and we'll cancel the bold, so it really will be 500. Now I'll take a shape and drop it below both of these texts. I'll make the height 1 pixels and I'll untick the make this element fixed width so it can expand through the whole group. Go to the appearance tab and just change the background color to be grade 70. This one. Now I'll take a group and drop it below this shape. We'll just go to the layout and make it last. I'll call this group group email. I'll make a space between the elements of 8 pixels. And now I'll take a text. For this text, I want to change the font size to be 14 and the font color should be gray 40. Now for the text itself, I will write email address. I'll go back to the elements. I'll search for the input and I'll drop it inside the group email like this. I'll call this input email. And now we'll start changing the properties. So the placeholder should be your email address. The content format should be email. The placeholder color is great. I'll change the background style to be the surface 1, this one. And for the borders, I'll change the width to be 1, the roundness to be 5. And the color of the borders should be gray 70. Now I'll go to the layout tab and I'll untick this box so the element can expand, and I'll change the height to be 40. Now I want to use this style of this input few times, so I'll go here and create a new style with this drop down, and I'll make the style name main input. So I see not all the properties have been saved, so I'll go and edit the style. I'll change the font color to be the text color. The placeholder should be gray 40. Those are fine. And I'll go to the layout, change the padding of the left and the right to be 12. And now in the conditional tab, I'll change the primary 50 to be this primary. When the input is focused, it will show the border color as the primary color. And that's it for this style. Now I'll go ahead and take this group email. I'll copy it and paste it below it. I'll change the name to be group password. I'll change this text to be also the password. And the input itself should say your password. That's great. The content format should be also a password. And that's it. The styles are already saved and we don't need to change anything else. Just the name, we'll change it to be the input password. Now that we have the right inputs, we'll just need a button to activate the workflow of signing in or logging in. So I want this button to not fit with the content and stretch as much as it can. I'll make the minimum height 40 pixels. And now I'll go to the Appearance tab and change the label to be Sign In. And I'll also change the background color to be gray 70. Now what I want to do is to add some conditionals. So I'll first of all detach the style, and I'll delete this conditional and this one also. I'll define another condition. When this button is hovered, I want the background color to be the primary color. Now I just want to make sure in the Appearance tab that we have the magic touch, that the background style transition will make it smooth. That's great. I'll add another condition, but before that I'll go to the login or sign up pop-up and I'll add a custom state. The custom state will tell us if the user wants to sign up or wants to log in. So I'll add the custom state named sign up ? as a yes or no type, and the default will be no. So now the default value says that the user wants to log in, but if he wants to sign up, we'll just change the state. Now I'll go back to the button. I'll add another condition. When the login or sign up pop-up, sign up is yes. In the case of yes or no field, you can leave this sign up as this, and it calculates this expression as sign up equals yes. So you can leave it like this, and it's the same as doing sign up ? is yes. Now when this custom state is yes, I want the label to be sign up and not sign in. We almost finished with this pop-up. I'll just take a text and put it as the last element. I'll make it horizontally aligned to the middle. And I'll go to the Appearance tab to change the text to be don't have an account, sign up. I'll change here the font color to be gray 60. And I'll also use this option to underline the text. Now I want this text to appear only when the user is in a login state. So I'll go to the layout and untick this element is visible on page load. And I'll add a condition that it will be visible when the login or sign up pop-up, sign up is no. Now I'll go here to the element tree and I'll just copy, paste the text. Now in the condition, I will make it the opposite. So when the login or sign up pop-up sign up is yes, it will be visible, but the text should be different. It should be already have an account, sign in. Now in order to alternate between those states, we'll need to add a workflow. So when we click on this text, it will set the state of the pop-up to be sign up equals no. So now I'll add a workflow to the second text that we have, and it will just set the state to the opposite state. So the login or sign up pop-up state, sign up equals yes. Now I'll create a custom workflow just for us to have an option to open the reusable element outside of the reusable element. So the workflow will be show pop-up, and it will reset the pop-up and then show it like this. So we have an issue. I forgot to tell the reset a group or pop-up which pop-up to reset. Now it's good. I'll go back to the design tab and I'll need to add some more elements. So let's close all of this and add an icon outside of the group. We'll make the layout to the right. 30 width and 30 height is good. And in the Appearance tab, I'll make the icon color gray 50 and I'll change the icon itself to be the close icon. Now I'll add a workflow for this icon to just hide our pop-up. The last workflow we'll need to configure here is the sign up button. We'll add a workflow on the sign up button. So when it's clicked, I'll want to log the user in. We'll use the email from the input email value and the password from the input password. Now this action of logging the user in I want it to be activated only when the login or sign up pop-up, sign up is no. So when the sign up custom state is no, it means the user wants to log in. And now I'll add another action that will be sign the user up. We'll use the same inputs, the input password and the input email. And for the only when condition, it will be the login or sign up pop-up sign up is yes. After that, I'll just want to clean up and hide the element pop-up and also reset it, the pop-up. And now we're gonna create the notification for the user using the Toast plugin. So we'll go to the plugins tab and add a plugin called Toast Notification. It's this one by Minimum Studio. I'll install it and I'll go back to the design tab. I'll close this group in the element tree. I'll go and find the notifier element and drop it right here. I'll go to the layout tab and change the width and the height to be 1, so we won't see it at all. I'll go to the appearance tab and change the position to be top center. I'll change the success background to be gray 70. The success font color, it should be the text color. The border success should be gray 70. The success icon primary should be the primary color and the success icon secondary should be the text color. That's it for this notifier. I'll go back to the workflow tab and add here the last action of notify a notifier and I'll say logged in. That's great. I personally like to color the workflows that I consider a general workflow or a navigation workflow in the color green. So I'll just do it here for all the workflows. And then we can go to the follow along document and tick all that we finished. So this is the document. We've built the login or sign up pop-up and we've set up the authentication workflows for new users and also returning users. That's great, guys. The next reusable element we're gonna create will be the inner header reusable element. And it's not a header that will just float on top of the page. It's an inner header that will just be inside the layout of the page and we'll use it a couple of times in the app. So this is the reason why I want to do it as a reusable element. I'll create the reusable element and I'll call it inner header. Now I'll adjust the layout of this inner header reusable element to be the default builder width 1200 and the minimum width can be 40. Now I want the container layout to be a row and the container alignment should be space between. Now I'll go to the appearance tab and change the background color to a random color so we can see everything here, but in the end I'll want the background color to be invisible. So for now let's leave it like this. I'll take a group and drop it inside the header. Now I'll call this group mobile navigation. I'll go to the layout and I'll feed the width to content. And I'll also go to the conditionals tab and add a condition. So when the current page width is less than 768, the mobile landscape, this item should be visible. Otherwise, I'll go to the layout tab and make this element not visible on page load. I'll go and grab an icon and put it inside this mobile navigation group. The icon should be the menu icon like this and the color should be background. I'll also change the background style to be a flat color and the roundness to be 100. The background color will be the text color and let's just see it in action. Great. I'll make changes to the width and the height of this icon to be 40 in the width and 40 for the height. And I'll also want to change the padding to be 8 from all sides. Now this is it for this group. I'll take another group and drop it after this. So I'll make it next. I'll call the group login or sign up buttons. I'll make this group container layout a row and I'll apply the gap spacing between the elements to be column gap 12 pixels. I'll also untick this box of this element should be visible on page load and I'll tick the feed width to content box and that's it for the layout tab. Now this element isn't visible on page load and I want to show it once the current user is logged out. So this group will have the login and sign up buttons, and we want to show it only when the user is logged out, in order for him to have an option to log in or sign up. So I'll go and take a button and drop it inside this group. Let's just make it visible. This button label should be sign up. I'll remove the background style and make it none. And I'll go to the layout tab and change the min height to be 40 pixels. And the last thing with this button, I want to detach the style and delete those conditions. Now I'll take this button, copy and paste it again, and I'll just need to change in the appearance the font color to be the background color, and the background style should be a flat color with the text color. I'll also want to change the roundness to be 30, and that's it for this button. Now I'll go ahead and grab another group and put it below those three groups. So I'll do it like this, and I'll take it to the next. I'll feed the width to content. I'll make the container layout a row. I'll apply a space between the elements, a column gap of 12 pixels. The group name should be logout plus account. And I want this element to not be visible on page load, and I want it to be visible in this condition when the current user is logged in. So now the user will have the option to log out or see the account details. So we can just take this sign up button, copy it and paste it right here. This sign up button should be labeled as the logout. And now I'll paste the sign up button again here. I'll change the button type to be just an icon with the person icon in the field options. That's the one. I'll just need to change the icon color to be the background color and change the roundness to be 100. Now let's make it visible and see it in action. So I'll also need to this button account to change the layout. The paddings should be 0 and the min width should be 40. Now it's a perfect circle. Great, so I have all the groups that I wanted. I'll just take the login and sign up pop-up and drop it on this page. And I'll also make the max width 400 pixels. Now I'll just add all the workflows that we need inside this reusable element. So this icon, we'll call it the icon mobile menu. When we click on this icon, it should allow us to see the mobile sidebar that we will create later. So now I'll just add a workflow to set the state of the inner header. I'll create the custom state from here and I'll call it show mobile sidebar ? And I'll make it a yes or no type. In the case of clicking on this icon, I will set the value to yes, but I'll want to set the default value of this inner header to no. Now let's continue with the sign up button and add a workflow. So when we click the sign up button, it should set the state of the login or sign up pop-up to be sign up equals yes, and it also should trigger a custom event from a reusable element to show us the pop-up. This is why we configure the custom event in the login pop-up beforehand. Now we'll need to do the same for the login button, but this one was not changed to login, so now it is. I'll add a workflow to do the same. So we'll set the state of the login or sign up pop-up, sign up custom state to be no, and we'll trigger a custom event from a reusable element, and this is the one. Now for the logout workflow, I'll go and add a workflow when the button logout is clicked. It should log the user out. It should also refresh the page, and it should navigate him to the index page. I'm making both of these actions because later on, when we'll have the player playing the music and also the playlist saved on a custom state, those actions will reset the player and also the playlist in the case that the user is logging out. For the final button in this reusable, we'll just add a workflow to the button account and make a navigation to the page index and add a parameter of tab equals get an option, option menu, settings, display. So this way, when we click on this button, it just sends us to the settings tab. Now I'll just mark all these workflows in green to indicate that we finished with all of them and that they are a general workflow or a navigational workflow. Now I'll go back to the follow along document and tick that we designed the inner header, we added the navigation, and we make the header responsive. That's great, guys. I'll just want to make sure that we don't forget to make this color disappear. That's great. So this is how it should look like. Now we'll create the sidebar reusable element. So I'll start by adding a new reusable element called sidebar. Now for this sidebar, let's change the layout settings. The default builder width should be 300, the minimum height should be 600, and the padding should be 8 for the top, bottom, left and right. I'll also want to apply gap space between the rows of 8 pixels. And now I'll go to the Appearance tab and change the background color to be background. Now I'll take another group and drop it inside the sidebar, and I'll call it Sidebar Header. I'll change the background color to be the surface color, and I'll change the roundness to be 10. Now I'll go to the layout and I'll apply gap spacing between the elements of 8 pixels, and I'll add padding 16 to the top, bottom, left and right. Now I'll add another group inside this sidebar header and I'll call it Home. I'll change the container layout to be a row and I'll apply space between the column of 8 pixels. Now I'll go ahead and take an icon, put it inside the Home group. I'll change the icon to be the Home Field version. The color of the icon should be gray 50, and I'll go to the Layout tab and I'll just remove all the paddings and turn it into a 0. And now I'll add a condition that when Home, the group is hovered, or get data from page URL, the parameter name should be tab. So when we get tab from the page URL and it's the option of the option set menu Home display, then the icon color should be white. So if we hover on the group Home or we currently on the Home tab, then this icon will be white. Now just to add a magic touch, I'll go here in the Appearance tab and I'll choose a property to define a new transition to, and I'll choose the icon color. Now I'll take a text element and put it inside group Home. I'll change the font weight to be 600. The font color should be gray 50 as well, and the text should be Home. I'll also add here a transition of the font color. Now I'll go to the Layout tab and I'll vertically align it to the middle. And now I'll go back to the icon. I'll copy the condition that we've just made and put it also on the text. So here the font color should be changed to the text color. So now if we hover this group or we're in the Home tab, this is what we'll see. Now I'll just take this group Home, I'll copy it and paste it below. I'll call it Search. I'll change the text to be also Search. And the icon should be a magnifying glass. So this one. Now because we just copied the Home group, we can see the condition is changed also for the Search group. But we need to change the option of the get tab from URL to be the Search option, also in here in the text. Great. Now I'll take another group and drop it below the sidebar header and I'll call it Sidebar Body. I'll go to the Appearance tab, I'll change the background color to be the surface color and the roundness to be 10. Now I'll change some settings in the layout. I'll apply a space between the rows of 8 pixels and I'll add padding to the top, bottom and left of 16. And the last thing for the sidebar body, I want to untick the fit height to content checkbox so it can expand as much as it can. Now for the first group in this group, I can just copy the search one. I'll change the name of this group to be library. I'll change the icon to be a music icon. This one. We'll also need to change the condition so the library is hovered, and that's it. So if the library is hovered, the icon color will change. Now I'll adjust the text to be the same, so only if the library is hovered, the font color will change, and this will be your library. Now I'll take both of these elements and I'll group it in a row. I'll call this group group left, and I'll just apply a space between the columns of 8 pixels, and I'll change the padding in the left to be 8 pixels. Now I'll copy this music icon and paste it inside the library group. So we have the group left, and on the right the new icon. I'll change the icon to be the add icon, and I'll just check if the condition is good. Yes, this is what we want. Now I'll add another group below. I'll change it to be the next, and the group should be called group playlist favorites. Here we'll have the option to navigate to the favorites of the user. Now I'll change the container layout to be a row, and I'll apply a space between the columns of 16 pixels. I'll also change the padding to be 8 on the top, bottom, left and right. For the appearance of this group, I'll change the roundness to be 5, and I'll define a new transition of the background style, so it comes with these. And for the conditional tab, I'll want to say when this group is hovered, the background color will be flat color, and the background style will be flat color, and the background color will be the background 2 color. Inside this group, I'll want to add an image. The image will be called image liked. In the layout, I'll change the width to be 48, and I'll also keep the aspect ratio fixed as 1 to the width and 1 to the height, in order for us to have a perfect square. Now in the appearance tab, I'll change the roundness to be 5, and now I'll add an image. I'll pick this like songs image, and I'll also add it to the follow along document. Now I'll just copy this text and paste it here, and I'll change the color to be the text color. I'll also change the text to be liked songs. Now below this, I want to add a repeating group that will show all the playlists the user added to the app. So I'll go to the appearance tab and change the type of content to be the playlist data type, and the data source should be a do a search for playlists with a new constraint that the user equals current user. That's it for the data source. Now I'll set the fixed number of rows. I'll untick the box. Now I'll go to the layout tab. I'll untick the fit width to content, and I'll make the min height 0. Now I'll add a group inside this repeating group, and this will be our first cell. So this group container should be a row, and I'll apply a space between the column to be 16. Now I'll also add a padding of 8 to the top, bottom, left and right, and I'll also want to separate it from the next cell by giving the bottom margin 8 pixels. Now I'll go to the appearance tab. I'll just make the data source the current cells playlist, and I'll change this type of content to be the playlist. The roundness of the group should be 5, and I'll also make a new transition of the background style. So we'll also need to add a condition. So when this group is hovered, the background style should be the flat color, and background color should be the background 2 color. Now I'll want for every playlist to display the 4 first songs images and then the playlist name. So I'll do it by adding a group inside this group playlist. This group's container layout should be aligned to parent, and I'll want to change the mid width and the min height to 48, and I'll fit width to content. Now for the appearance tab, we'll take for the data source the parents group playlist and change the type of content to be a playlist. And for the background style, I'll change it to a flat color, and I'll choose the surface 2 color. I'll also change the roundness to be 5. Now inside this group, I want the 4 images. So I'll drop one image there. I'll change the width to be 24. I'll untick the make this element fixed width and put the max width as 24. And I'll keep this element's aspect ratio as 1:1. Now I'll go to the Appearance tab and set the dynamic image to be the parent group playlist, songs, first item, image. Now for the borders, I would like the image to be rounded only in this left top part. So I'll do it by checking this define each border independently box, and I'll choose the top left and make it 5. Now we can just take this image and copy paste it 4 times. So we have 4 different images. We'll take this second image and put it on the top right. We'll change the dynamic image to be the parents group playlist songs item number 2 image. And also the border should be the top right 5 and the top left should be 0. Let's do the same to the third image. Here the border should be, for the top left it should be 0, and for the bottom left it should be 5. We'll also need to change here the playlist songs item number 3 image. We'll go to the layout and stick it to the bottom left. And for the last image, we'll stick it to the bottom right. We'll change the songs item number 4 image, and the top left should be 0, but the bottom right border should be 5. That's great. Now for the playlist name, we can just copy and paste it here. We'll change the text to be the parent group's playlist name. And just for my sake, I will write in the canvas placeholder workout. So this text will be here and not expand. Now that we've finished with the UI, let's go to the workflow tab and add a custom workflow that calls navigate to tab. We'll add a new parameter to this workflow that is called tab. It will be the type of option set menu, and that's it. Now the action inside this workflow should be navigate to the page, current page, and we'll send some more parameters to the page. That's the key is called tab, and the value will be the tab display. Now with this workflow, every time that we want to change tab, we can just call this workflow. Let's go back to the design tab and choose the home group and add a workflow to it. The workflow should be the custom workflow that we just added. So trigger navigate to tab. The tab should be the home option. Now let's do the same for the search group, and we'll trigger a custom event and pick the search option. Now I'll go back to the design tab and I'll choose the liked songs group. I'll add a workflow. In this workflow, I won't use the custom workflow action. I'll just use the navigation go to page action to the current page. And this is because I want to send more parameters than just the tab. So here I'll send the tab, and it should be the get an option set menu home option display. And the second parameter will be the sub tab, and this should be the option from the option set sub menu liked option. This is how I'm going to show the favorites group in our page. Now I'll also add a workflow to the playlist. So when we choose a playlist, it should also send us to the current page with 2 more parameters. So the first one will be the tab, but this time the option will be the option set playlist option display. Now for the second parameter, I will call it playlist, and I'll send the current sales playlist unique ID. So that way we can know which playlist we're gonna display. Now I'll change all the workflow colors to be green because they are navigational workflows. And we have another workflows that I want to add here. And it will be the workflow that will allow us to add new playlist to this app. So when someone clicks this plus icon, we'll add a workflow. Now before I make an action, I will add the login or sign up pop-up to this page. I'll change the layout max width to be 400. That way I can now make the action of trigger a custom event from a reusable element, and it will show the login pop-up. but I want it to be activated only when the current user is logged out. We'll just need to remember to add two more actions here. So the first action should be show playlist pop-up, and the second one will be the show subscription pop-up. But this is later when we will create those pop-ups. Now I'll change this workflow color to be blue to indicate this is related to the playlist feature. Now I'll go and just add the sidebar reusable element to the page. So here in the design tab, I'll change the index background color to be the background color. I'll drop a group that will call it the main container. I'll change this index layout to be the column, and this main container group should not be fixed width. The min height should be 100%, so it expands to the whole page, and I'll also allow vertical scrolling when content overflows. So if we have something bigger than the whole page, it will just allow us to scroll. Now this main container layout should be a row, and I'll take the sidebar element that we've created and put it right here. Now I'll change some settings to this sidebar, so the min width should be 300 and it should fit the width to content. I'll choose this option for the vertical alignment, vertical stretch, so it will stretch through the whole page. I'll make this element collapse when hidden, and I won't show it on page load, and will show it only when the page width is bigger or equals to 768, the mobile landscape. Now this is it for the sidebar. We're gonna add some additional stuff inside the sidebar later in the build. So I'll go back to the follow along document and I'll check that we've built the sidebar as a reusable element. We added navigations for the home search and the playlists. We added responsive conditions to the sidebar, and we set up dynamic menu items based on user state. Great. So this is done. Next, we'll build the mobile sidebar. Let's add the mobile sidebar, and this one is gonna be an easy one. We just need to go to the sidebar reusable element and just clone this reusable element like this, and we'll call it the mobile sidebar. So a lot of it will stay the same. I'll just make it a little bit wider, and I'll also need to add a custom state to the mobile sidebar. The custom state will be called hide ? And it will be a yes or no field. So the default value will be no, and when we'll change it to yes, we'll know to hide the mobile sidebar. Now another thing that will be different in the mobile sidebar, it's the type of element. It won't be a group, it will be a floating group. So it will vertically float relative to the top, it horizontally float relative to the left, and here the Z index is something that we configure to tell if the element is going to be in front of the other elements or behind the other elements. So here we want to leave it above elements. In order to hide this mobile sidebar, I'll need to add a close icon. So I'll go to this sidebar header and I'll change the container layout to be aligned to parent. Now I'll take both of these groups and I'll group them in a column container. This column container should not fit with the content, and it should apply a space between the elements of 8 pixels. And now that we've done this, it allows me to add an icon in this group, and I can just align it to the top right. I'll just change the appearance of this icon to be the close icon, and the color should be the gray 50 color. Now we can just add a workflow on this icon, so when we click it, it will set the state of this mobile sidebar. Hide is yes. Great. Let's color this workflow in green. And let's add the mobile sidebar in the index page and start animating this sidebar. In order to animate the mobile sidebar, I need to add here a group. This group will be our layout, but we'll start changing it only in the next video. For now, I'll just want to drop the inner header inside, and I'll add some workflows that will animate the mobile sidebar. So the workflow should be do when condition is true. So run this every time that the inner header show mobile sidebar is yes. So this workflow will run and it will animate the mobile sidebar One second, we need to add the mobile sidebar to the page. So like this, you can just throw it here. Let's make the max width 300. And let's also untick this fit height to content box. And now we can go back to the workflow tab and animate the mobile sidebar. The animation should be left in, so transition slide left in. And then we need to reset the custom state of this inner header to be show mobile sidebar equals no. So this is the workflow that handles the showing animation of the mobile sidebar. Now we need to handle the hiding animation of the mobile sidebar. So let's choose the do when condition is true again, and we'll run this every time that the mobile sidebar hide equals yes. So when we click on the close icon in the mobile sidebar, it will change the mobile sidebar hide to yes. And then we can animate the mobile sidebar. It should be the animation left out, so transition slide left out. And we'll also need to reset the state of this mobile sidebar to hide equals no. Before we preview this page, I'll just need to go to the design tab and set the mobile sidebar element to not be visible on page load. And now let's try and preview this page. Let's erase this debug mode from the page URL so we can see it more clearly. So this is our sidebar. Let's see the navigation. It drives us to the home tab, search tab. Here it prompts us to log in. Here it also gives us the login and also the sign up options. The like songs will give us the home tab and the sub tab of the liked. That's great. But the only problem that I have here is the inner header. These buttons should be on the right. So what we can do is go back to the inner header reusable element, and this mobile navigation group, we can untick the collapse when hidden box. Now it will just push it to the right because we still have the box here. About the space from the top, we'll change it later when we start configuring this layout. But for now, let's check the mobile sidebar. So here we have the menu icon that opens this mobile sidebar, and everything here works, but now I realized that we don't hide the mobile sidebar after we click the navigation. So this works, but we need to hide it also when we press search. So let's go back to the editor and go to the mobile sidebar workflows. And it's easy, we just need to add another action of setting the state of the mobile sidebar hide to yes before every navigation action. So let's copy this. We should do it for the home. We should do it here for the playlist. We'll do it here for the playlist favorites. We'll also do it for the search navigation. And that's it. So let's see it in action. I press here, and if I go home, it just goes back. Great. So the sidebar works perfectly. And next we'll configure this layout and the home page. So let's go back to the follow along document and tick that we finished the mobile sidebar. So we've built the mobile sidebar as a reusable element. We implemented slide in and slide out animations. We set up toggle functionality for mobile view, and we linked navigation items with the mobile sidebar. That's great, guys. I'll see you on the next one. In this video, we're gonna build the main layout of our Spotify clone, and we'll also build the home page. So to start, let's open this main container and call this group Home or Playlist tab. This group will act also as the Home tab and also as the Playlist tab because it's really similar layout, and we just need to change the groups inside. Now for this group layout, I'll change the space between rows to be 16 pixels. I'll make this element not visible on page load. I'll make it vertically aligned as vertical stretch, so it expands through the whole page. I'll also tick the box of allow vertical scrolling when content overflows. So if it's a little bit bigger than the whole page, we'll be able to scroll the content inside. Now I'll also add some margins to the top and bottom of 8 pixels. Now in the Appearance tab, I'll change the background color to be a flat color, and the color should be the surface color. I'll also change the roundness of this group to be 10. Now for the conditionals of this group, I'll add a condition. So when the current page width is less than 768 pixels, the margin, the left margin and the right margin should be 8. This will handle when we're on the mobile screen that the group doesn't touches the edges of the screen. And as you remember, this element isn't visible on page load, so I want it to be visible in another condition when the get tab, the parameter name is tab from the URL, is get an option set menu home display. So when it's home display, it will show this element. And also I'll choose the OR operation to define that it can also be seen when get tab is get an option from the option set menu playlist display. So if the tab in the URL is home or playlist, it will show this group. Now inside this group, I'll want to add a group and I'll call this group top gradient. Now I'll go to the appearance tab and I'll choose the background style to be a gradient. It should be a linear gradient. The direction should be from the top. The starting color should be this color 065F46. I don't save this color in the styles variables because we're gonna use it only once. So the ending color should be the surface color. I'll also adjust the borders, so I'll define them separately and I'll make the top left corner rounded by 10 and the top right also at 10. Now in the layout tab, I'll apply space between the rows to be 16 pixels and I'll also add a padding to the top, bottom and left of 24 pixels. Now inside this group, I'll just take the inner header that we added earlier and put it inside it. Now I'll take another group and put it below the header and I'll call this group home header. Now this group layout should have a space between the elements of 16 pixels and now I'll define the condition so this will be visible when they get data from page URL. The data will be the tab data, is the option from the option set menu home, then it will be visible. But I'll add also another condition when get data from page URL, the sub parameter is empty, it will be visible. So now when we're in the home tab and the sub tab is empty, it will show us the home header. In this group we should have a text. The text should say welcome back. The font size should be 32 and this text should be bold. Now I'll add another group below this text and I'll call this group liked songs. Now this group is going to be used in order to navigate us to the favorite songs of the user. For the design of this group, I'll change the background style to be a flat color and I'll change it to white to be with 10 opacity, so it's more transparent. The roundness of this group should be 10 and I'll also define a new transition to the background style. Now in terms of layout, this container layout should be a row. The gap between the column should be 16 pixels. And for this group's padding, I'll just add 16 to the right and I'll check the fit width to content box. The first element in this group should be an image and this image should be 60 fixed width and the aspect ratio should be 1:1. Now this image will be a static one, so I'll choose the same liked song image that we have and I'll also tick this box of the define each border independently and I'll define the roundness of the top left to be 10 and also the bottom left should be 10. Now it gives us the effect that the image is inside this group and it's not going out, so it's much more prettier. For the next element in this group, I'll just copy this text and paste it here. I will make the font size 16 and I'll go to the layout to vertically align it to the middle. And now I want to add a play button for this playlist, so I'll add a group here. I'll call this group play button. I'll make the container alignment to the middle and also the vertical alignment to the middle. and I'll change the min width to be 48 and the min height to be 48. Now I'll just tick this fit with to content box, and we'll continue with adding the play button. So it will be an icon. The icon should be the play arrow icon in the field category, so this one. The icon color should be the background color. The background style should be the flat color, and I'll change the background color to be the primary color. Now for the roundness, I will make it a circle, so it's 100. Now when this button is hovered, I want it to have a cool effect, just like Spotify. So I'll change the opacity to 0, and you'll see exactly what we're gonna do with it. So I'll set a new transition to the opacity, so when it changes smoothly. I'll also change it to the height, and I'll also make a new transition for the width. This one. Now I'll go to the layout, I'll change the width and the height to be 32. And the last thing I'm gonna do is to define the condition. So when the liked songs, okay, all of this group is hovered, I'll change the height to be 40. I'll change the width to be also 40. And the opacity should be 100. Now when we hover this whole group, it will just expand smoothly and show us the play button. Let's go back to the layout and just center this horizontally to the middle. So this is it for the top part. I made it a separate group because I wanted the gradient to just cover everything that's here. But now we're gonna make a new group for the body. So I'll drop a group right here, and I'll call this group Home Container. This home container should have a space between the rows of 16 pixels and also a padding on the left and the right of 24 pixels. I'll also won't show it on page load, but I'll make a condition so it will be visible just like the home header group. So I can just copy this expression and put it here. So when the tab is home and when the subtab is empty, this group should be visible. Now I'll take the welcome back text and drop it here. I'll change the font size to be 24 pixels, and the text should say newest songs. Now I'll also add for this group the repeating group element. This repeating group type of content should be the song. We're gonna display here all the newest songs of this app, and the data source should be a do a search for song, and we'll use the sort by field here to sort the result by the created date of each song, and we'll make it descending. Now for the number of rows, I'll untick the fixed option, and I'll do it also for the columns. I'll put the min width of a column to be 200, and that's it for the repeating group. So I'll take a group and put it in the first cell. I'll call this group group song cell, so we know it's the first one of the repeating group. I'll change the data source to be the current cell song, and also the type of content to be a song. Now the background style should be a flat color, and the background color should be the background number 2 color. For the roundness of this group, I'll change it to 10. And I'll also make a new transition for the background style. Now for the layout of this group, I'll add a space between the elements of 16 pixels. In order to separate each cell, I will make some margins to the bottom and to the right. Now you can see that it's all separated. And for this group, I'll also add a padding of top of 16, bottom 32, left and right 16. I'll also want to add a condition when this group is hovered, the background color should be the surface 2 color. Now in this song group, I'll want to show all the details of the song. So we'll need an image and 2 text. One text for the title and 1 text for the author. So I'll add an image inside this group. I'll change the layout of this image, and I'll untick the make this element fixed width. I'll change the minimum width to be 0, so it can expand as much as it can in terms of width. I'll also make the aspect ratio fixed 1:1. Now for this image appearance, I'll change the dynamic image to be the parent group songs image. Now I'll add a text for the song's name, So the text should be a dynamic data of the parent group song title, and I want the title to be bold. And for the author text, I will just copy paste it here. I'll change the font to be gray 50 and the weight to be 500, and I'll uncheck the bold option. Now for the text itself, it should say by, add a space and choose the parent group songs author. Now let's go see this homepage in action. I've also added a song here so we can see, and the next thing that I want to do is on this image to have a play button like this one. You see this cool animation that we did? This is the opacity, the height and the width with the smooth transition. So I'll want to do the same play button on this picture, so instead of playing the whole playlist we could play only one song. Now let's go back to the Bubble editor and just copy this group play button. Let's make this image grouped inside the align to parent group. Let's make this group expandable. So I just untick the fit with to content box. And now in this group, I'll just paste the group button that we just took. I'll make it align to the bottom right corner. And now I don't want this button to touch the corner, so I'll add a margin to the bottom and to the right of 8 pixels. And I'll go check the icon conditionals and see what it's here. So yes, in order for it to work, we need to change the liked songs to be the group song cell. So when we hover on this cell, it will just show us the button. I'll also copy this condition and paste it, and I'll change it to another expression. So also when the current page width is less than 768, it will also show us the play button. So I'll go back to the page and we'll show how it looks like. So when we hover this group, it shows us the play button. Next we will add also the workflow to really play the song, but this will happen only later in the build. Now when we're in mobile, we can't hover on elements, so the other condition makes sure we see the play button on a mobile screen. So this is it in terms of design for this part. I'll just need to add a few more workflows and we'll finish. The first workflow that I want to add will be a workflow that will check if the page have a tab. So if it doesn't have a tab and the tab parameter in the URL is empty, we'll just assign it the default tab of home. So run this workflow every time that the get data from page URL parameter name tab is empty. In this case, I'll want to trigger an action from the reusable element sidebar that it will navigate us to the tab home. Now I'll just mark all these workflows in green to indicate it's a general workflow or just a navigational workflow. And that's it for this part. So I'll go to the Notion document. I'll just tick off that we designed the main layout structure. We integrated the sidebar and the header reusable elements. We've set up the conditional views for desktop and mobile, aka it's responsive. And we've built the home tab UI for the inner header for the like song section, and we're displaying the songs. That's great. In the next lesson, we'll build the create song pop-up so we can add songs to the app. Now let's create the create song pop-up. So it's gonna be a reusable element. So I'll add a new reusable element that's called create song. I'll change this reusable element layout to be 400 and 400 for the height. The padding should be top 16, bottom 32, left and right 16. I'll also change the container layout to be aligned to parent. And let's go to the appearance tab and change the background color to be the background 2 color. And also I'll change the roundness of the borders to be 10. Now in this create song pop-up, I'll need 3 elements. The first one will be the group form. The second one will be an icon for the close. So I'll just change it to close icon and to the gray 50. And I'll also align it to the top right corner. The last thing I want to add here is the notifier. So we'll know when the song is created. So I'll change the notifier width and height to be 1 so it's not visible. I'll change the success background to be gray 70. The success font color should be the text color. Border success should be the gray 70. Success icon primary should be this primary color, and the success icon secondary will be the text color. Now the position should be top center. Now I see the notifier is inside the group form, so I'll just take it out. Make sure it's aligned to the left top corner. Now we can start creating the input form for this pop-up. So now I'll go to the group form layout. I'll change the space between the elements to be 24 row gap. And I'll also change the padding. Top and bottom should be 16, left and right should be 8. Now I'll add the header text inside this group form. I'll make it horizontally aligned to the middle. I'll change the appearance and say the text should be add a song. The font size should be 24 and it should be bold text. Now I'll copy and paste it again, and this will be our description. The font size should be 16. The font weight should be 500, and I'll untick this bold option. The text itself should say upload an MP3 file. Now I'll go ahead and take a group and drop it below the text. I'll call this group inputs. I'll just change the space between the elements to be 16, and I'll start dropping inside the inputs. So the first input will be the song title input. And now I want to create a new style for this input. So this input will be called form input. Now let's edit the style. The font size should be 16, the font color should be white, the placeholder should be gray 40, and the background color should be surface 2. I'll change the roundness to be 5, and I'll make the borders none. Now for the conditionals, I'll just delete those two, and I'll change this input isn't valid to the border style to be solid, and the border color should be destructive 50. So now if the input is not valid, it will indicate it with red borders. I'll go to the layout tab and add padding to the left and the right of 12 pixels. Now that this input is ready, I'll go back to the design tab. I'll change here the height to be 40, and I'll untick the fixed width box, and I'll just check the appearance that this input should not be empty box is checked. Now for the next input, I'll just copy and paste it, and I'll change here to be the song author, and everything else for this input will stay the same. I'll just take this input and put it inside the group inputs. And now we need an input for the audio file and input for the image file. So I'll add a group because I want to add a title before the input. So this group should be called input audio file. Now inside this group, I'll want a title that will say to the user, select a song file. I'll just change here the weight to be 600, and this is perfect. Now I'll go to the elements and I'll find the file uploader element and put it inside this group. I'll change this input name to be file uploader audio file. I'll check here this input should not be empty box. I'll detach the style here and I'll check all the settings here. So the background style should be also the surface 2, the borders should be none, and the roundness should be 5. Now I'll go to the layout tab. I'll untick this fixed width box and I'll change the height to be 40. I'll make the top and bottom padding 0. And I'll also check these conditionals, so I'll delete both of them, but when the file uploader isn't valid, I want the border style to be solid and the border color to be destructive 50. I'll just check the border width that it's actually 1, so I'll put it solid, change it to 1, and now none. So when this condition is true, the border width will be 1. I'll also make this text left aligned, and the placeholder should be audio file. Now I'll check also this inputs style and their border width. Yeah, it's 1, so this is great. Now I'll go back to this audio file group. I'll make a space between the elements of 8 pixels. I'll copy this group and paste it right below. I'll call the new group image file. I'll change the text to be select an image. I'll change the placeholder here to be image file. And I think this is it for the inputs. Now I'll close all the groups here so it will be more organized. I see the group image file is outside the group inputs, so let's make it inside here. Great. Now I'll close it and I'll add below it a button. The button label should be create, and I prefer the font color to be the background color. The flat color is the primary, and the roundness of the borders should be 20. I'll also detach here the style, make sure we have the transition of the background style. I'll go to the layout and untick this fit with to content box, and I'll check the conditionals and I'll just delete them because we don't need them. Now let's add all the workflows that we need. So first of all, this close icon should hide the pop-up. Create song. Let's call it a pop-up. It will be easier to manage later on. And I'll also create a new custom event that will show the pop-up so we can use it outside of this pop-up. So in this show pop-up workflow, I'll reset the pop-up and I'll also show it right after the reset. Now the last workflow I want to make here is the create workflow. So I'll add a workflow on the create button. When this button is clicked, I'll create a new thing. This thing will be a song, and let's see all the fields. The fields of the audio file should be the file uploader audio file. I see that we have two, so let's just change the naming. This file uploader should be image file, and let's go back to the workflow. We'll see here that's the right file uploader. Here in the author we can take it from the input. The image we can take from the file uploader image file, and the title will be from the inputs value. Now I'll want to notify the user with this action, notify notifier, that a song has been created. Now after a user has created a song, I'll want to hide the element of the pop-up and also reset this pop-up. That's great. So we've done for this pop-up. I'll just change the colors to be the orange color to indicate these all workflows related to the create a song flow. Now I want the users to be able to add a song through the sidebar. So when the user is logged in, they should have a button of add song here. I'll go back to the sidebar. I'll go to the design tab. And here in this sidebar header group, I'll just copy the search group and I'll paste it here. I'll change the name to be the add song group. Now I'll change the icon to be a music note like this one. I'll make sure the condition is on the right group, so we don't need this get tab, and add song is hovered is the right one. Great. So let's check also the text. We'll delete this get tab from page URL and add song is hovered, so it will make the hovered effect. Great. So this text should say add song. Now the condition for the whole group should be that this add song group is not visible on page load, and it will only be visible when the current user is logged in. Otherwise, he don't have a permission to add songs to the app. Now before we add a workflow to this add song group, I'll need to go to the create song pop-up and change it into a pop-up because we forgot to do it earlier. Now I can go back to the sidebar and just drop this create song pop-up here. I'll make the layout max width of 400 pixels. And now when we go to the add song and we click on it, I'll add a workflow to trigger a custom event from a reusable element to show the create song pop-up. Now when we click the Add Song group, it will show us the pop-up to create the song. I'll just mark it in orange to indicate it's related to the Create Song flow. Now we need to do the same for the mobile sidebar. So let's just copy this from here. Let's go to the mobile sidebar. Let's go here and we can just paste it like that. Now let's make sure that the condition is right, the layout is okay. Great. Now we'll add a workflow here, but before that we need to put the Create Song pop-up here, make the layout max width of 400, and now we can just trigger the custom event from the reusable element of the Create Song pop-up to show the pop-up. Now also color this in orange, and now let's check that everything works. So now I need to sign up and log in order to add a song. So let's sign up. Now that I'm signed up, I'm logged in. We have the notifier here. Now we can see the Add Song group is visible because we're logged in. And now we can add a song. So let's add Till I Collapse by Eminem. I'll provide the audio file. And I'll also select an image. Great. So now let's create the song and see it's here. So we have the Create Song flow with the audio file and the image file. We're also only able to add songs when we logged into the app. So let's check also the logout workflow. So it works and we don't have the Add Song here anymore. That's great. So we've created the Create Song pop-up and now we can add songs to the app. I see we also forgot to change the welcome back to liked songs. So don't forget to change it to liked songs, like here. Now I'll go to the follow along document and tick off that we've designed the Create Song pop-up. We added the relevant inputs and we've also set up the validation. So when the input is empty, it will show us the invalid inputs when we try to create a song. So now we finish with this part. Let's go ahead and build our search page. So I'll add a group below the Home Playlist tab, and I'll call this group Search or Settings tab, because this group is gonna act also as the Search tab and also as the Settings tab, as the layout is very similar. Now I'll hide this Home or Playlist tab so we can see exactly what we're working with. Now in our Search and Settings tab group, I will change the background style to be a flat color and the background color to be the surface color. Now the roundness of this group should be 10, and that's it for the appearance. Now I'll go to the Layout tab and I'll apply a space between the elements of 16 pixels. I'll make this element stretch through the whole page, and I'll check the box of Allow Vertical Scrolling when content overflows. I'll add a padding to the top, bottom, left and right of 24 pixels. And I'll also untick this element is visible on page load box, and I'll make a condition to make it visible. So the condition is gonna be when get tab parameter from the page URL is the option from the option set menu search display, it will show us the page. And I'll also add a condition if the tab from the page URL is settings, it will also show it. So here I'll add the OR operator and I'll do the same. So get data from page URL, parameter name is tab, is get an option from the option set menu settings display. So if in the URL the parameter tab is the search display or the settings display, it will show this group. Now I'll also want to add some margins to this group. So the top and the bottom should have 8 margins from the corners of the page. Inside this group, I'll add our inner header reusable element. So we'll have the header also here. I'll call this header search or settings, so we can differentiate it between the other header. I'll also quickly change the other header name to be inner header home or playlist. Now let's make this group disappear and go back to the search and settings tab. Now I'll add a group below the inner header and I'll call this group search container. Now this search container group should have a space between the elements of 16 pixels. It should not be visible on page load. And now I'll define a condition when it should be visible. So it should be visible when the get tab parameter from the URL is the option from the option set menu, search display. Now let's add a text as the title of this search container, and I'll write search for the text. I'll change the font size to be 32 and I'll bold this text. Now below this text title, I'll add a group and I'll call it group search. This group layout should be a row, and now I'll add an input inside this group. This input name should be search songs. The placeholder should be what do you want to listen to? Like this. I'll change the style of this search input to be the form input, and then I'll go to the layout tab to untick this box of the fixed width, and I'll change the height to be 40. Now to make our search experience a good one, I'll go to the plugins tab and I'll search for the fuzzy plugin of fuzzy search and autocomplete. I'll install this plugin and I'll go back to the design tab. I'll find this plugin in the elements and add it in this group. I'll make it the last item. I'll tick this box of make this element fixed width and I'll change the height and the width to be 1. The name of this element should be fuzzy search and autocomplete songs. And now let's configure this plugin in the appearance tab. So the data type should be the song data type. The data source should be do a search for songs. And this will give us all the songs of the app, and we'll set the field to search as the title. And I'll also want to search it by the author field. Now I'll tick this box of set text to match from an input box. Now we'll need to provide an input box ID. So in order to provide the input box ID, I'll need to go to the settings tab. I'll need to go to the general tab and go way down and tick the box of expose the option to add an ID attribute to HTML elements, like this. I'll go back to the design tab and now I can add an ID attribute to this HTML element. So I'll call it search underscore songs. I'll copy this and I'll go back to the fuzzy plugin. I'll go a little bit up and put this ID here. Now this fuzzy plugin knows to connect for this input in order to search for these songs. And now I'll just change here the threshold to be 0.2. So the threshold lets us control how much we want the search to be accurate. So if we set the threshold to be 0.0, it requires a perfect match of the search term and the songs that we want to find. I make it 0.2 so we have a little bit flexibility when we search for songs. So now we finish with this group search and I'll add a repeating group below this group search. I'll call this repeating group songs search. So we can differentiate from the other repeating group of songs that we have. Now I'll change the type of content to be a song. The data source should be do a search for songs. Now I'll untick the option to set a fixed number of rows. I'll go to the layout, untick the fit width to content box, and I'll make the min height as 0. Now this repeating group will show us all the songs of the app, but I'll want to add a condition, so when we search something with this input, it will make the results appear here in the repeating group. So I'll define the condition and I'll do it like this. When the fuzzy search and autocomplete songs matches, first item is not empty. That means that after we search something with the input, the fuzzy search actually found some songs that match to the search term. I'll want to set the data source to the fuzzy search matches. So it gives us the list of songs that he found. Now we'll just need to create the group inside the cell. So I'll put a group here. I will call it group song search cell. I'll go to the appearance tab. I'll make the data source the current cell songs and the type of content the song data type. I'll change the roundness to be 10. And now in the layout tab, I'll change the container layout to be a row. I'll apply space between the column to be 16. And I'll just have 16 on the bottom margin, so it separates itself from the next result. Now I'll add another group inside this group cell. I'll change the container layout to be a row. I'll apply space between of 16 pixels between the columns. And I'll also put 8 paddings to the top, bottom, left and right. I'll go to the appearance tab and change the data source to be the parent group songs. I'll change also the type of content to be a song. I'll change here the roundness to be 5, and also I'll make a new transition of the background style, like this. Now in the conditionals tab, I'll define a condition, so when this group is hovered, I'll want the background style to be a flat color and the background color to be white with 10 opacity. Now I'll take an image element and drop it inside the group. I'll make the layout not fixed width. I'll make the max width 48 and the min width 0. I'll keep the aspect ratio fixed as 1:1, and in the appearance tab, I'll just set the dynamic image to be the parent group song image. Now I'll take a text element and we'll make the name and the author of this song. This text will be the parent group song's name, title, and this text should be bold. Now I'll go ahead and copy this text and paste it. I'll change the color to be gray 50. I'll change the font size to be 14 pixels. I'll untick the bold option and change the weight to 500. Now I'll need to change here the text itself to be by parent group song author. Now I'll take both of these texts. I'll group them inside a column. I'll make this column group min height 48, and I'll make the container alignment right here to be a space between. Now I'll take an icon and put it outside of all the groups here, so it will be on the right. I'll change the icon to be a heart icon from the phosphor library, like this, and the icon color should be the text color. Now I'll go to the layout tab and just vertically align it to the middle, and I'll change the name to be icon like search, so we can find it in the workflows. The next thing that I want to do is to have a list of all the favorite songs of the user. We're gonna do it by bringing a pop-up onto the page. We'll call this pop-up hidden variables. In this hidden variables pop-up, I will just drop here a repeating group. I'll change the repeating group min width to 40 and the min height to 40. And I'll call this repeating group var favorite songs. So whenever we want to find the favorite songs of the user, we can just reference this variable. Now in order for this variable to actually have the data of the favorite songs list, I'll go to the appearance tab. I'll change the type of content to be a song. And now for the data source, I'll need to do a search for the favorite songs where the user of this favorite song equals the current user. And from that list of favorite songs, I will take each item's songs. So now I have a list of songs from the favorite songs of the user. Now we can hide this hidden variables group. I'll go back to the icon and add a condition. So when variable favorite song list of songs contains the parent group song, this icon will be the heart icon, but in the field category, like this, and the icon color will be the primary color. So when this song is part of the favorite songs, it will show us the icon filled with this color. Now I'll make the functionality of liking and disliking the songs. So I'll add here a workflow, but before that I'll need to add a custom event. The event name will be like song. I'll need to pass a parameter of the song, like this, of type song. not favorite song, song. Now I make an action of creating a new thing. The thing will be the favorite song data type, and it will be the song that we passed in the workflow, and the user should be the current user. Now I want this action to only be activated when the current user is logged in. In the case the current user is not logged in, I'll want to trigger a custom event from a reusable element. I'll need to add this reusable element, so I'll just search for the login or sign up pop-up. I will drop it here and I'll make the max width 400. Now I can go back to the workflows and I'll choose the reusable element to be the login or sign up pop-up, and it will show us the pop-up only when the current user is not logged in, is logged out. Now, as this app is going to be a single page app, we're gonna have a lot of workflows here. So in order to maintain these workflows organized, I'll just change here the color of this workflow to be red, and I'll add it to a workflow folder. The folder should be called liked songs. We'll do the same to this workflow, red, liked songs. And now this workflow, when we press on the like icon, should fire only when the variable of favorite songs, list of songs, doesn't contain the parent group songs. So if the parent group song is not part of the favorite songs, we'll trigger the custom event like song and we'll pass the parent group song. That way we can create the favorite song data type and it will be added to the list of favorite songs. Now I'll do the opposite, so we can also unlike a song. So I'll take this workflow and I'll paste it. I'll change the name here to be unlike song. So this unlike song workflow should not create a new favorite song. It should delete a thing. The thing will be a favorite song, but we can find it with a do a search for favorite song, where the song equals the song from this workflow and the user equals the current user. Now that way we can find the exact favorite song that we want to delete. We'll just need to make it the first item, and this should only be activated when the current user is logged in. So we still have the workflow. When the current user is logged out, it will show us the login pop-up. Now just delete this. So now that we have this custom workflow, we'll need to do the opposite when we click this icon. So when the favorite songs variable, list of songs, does contain, so contains the parent group song, it will trigger the unlike song. Now let's see it in action. So now we're in the home page. I'll go to the search page. I'll find here the songs. If I click on this icon, it should first of all prompt me to log in. That's right. So I'll log into the user that I already have. Now that I've logged in, I can just like the song and it will change it to the green icon. Let's like these songs also. And now let's dislike both of them. That's great. So we have the functionality of liking a song. Now I leave both of the songs liked. So in the next video, when we build the liked song playlist, we can see the liked songs from there. So now let's just check the search functionality. So if I search for Not Like Us, it works. Till I collapse also works. Collapse also works. Great. So let's go back to the follow along document and just tick off that we finished the search tab. So we've built the search tab UI, we implemented dynamic search functionality, and we're displaying the search results for the songs. Great. And now just a quick note on this optimizing performance for loading liked songs. So we already optimized for performance when we added the hidden variables pop-up and the variable of favorite songs inside it. Because the alternative of finding the favorite songs of the user is to save the favorite songs in a list of songs on the user data type. And this way, if the list gets bigger than 30, 100, it will make the app super slow when we're loading the user data type. And in our way, we can just make a search for the favorite songs where the user is the current user in the favorite song data type, and that way we can bring the songs much more efficiently. So bottom line, we just want to avoid saving a big list in a field. So if we save the favorite songs on a field on the user data type, it would make the app less efficient and less performant, and the way we just did it is the better way. Now in the next video, we'll create the favorites subtab where we can find all the favorite songs. Let's go ahead and create our favorites page. So I'll close this group and I'll hide it. Let's show the home group, but we'll hide the home header and also the home container. Now I'll add a group below the home header and I'll call it liked header. This group roundness should be 10 and the group layout should be a row, and the space between them should be also the row, and also the column gap should be 16 pixels. Now I don't want this element to be visible on page load. I'll tick the feed width to content box and I'll add some top margin of 64 and right padding of 16. Now I'll add also two conditionals here. The first one will be to show this element when the get sub parameter, so this is the sub tab that we have, is get an option from the sub menu option set liked display. So if you remember, we configured when we click on the liked songs playlist in the home tab, it will send us to the sub tab with the liked option. The second condition I want to add, it's for the responsiveness. So when the current page width is less than 768, I want the container alignment to be to the middle. Now in this group, I want to have an image. This image should be the liked song image. So I'll upload a static image of the liked songs. I'll change the roundness to be 5. I'll change the name to be image liked songs. And I'll go to the layout to change this width to be 200 and its minimum. And the aspect ratio should be 1:1. Now I'll add a group below this image. I'll call this group liked title. I'll make the container alignment to the middle. I'll check the feed width to content box. And in the vertical alignment options, I will choose to stretch it. Now I'll add a text inside. And the text should say liked songs. Now this text should be a big text, so it will be 56 pixels. And I'll also make the weight extra bold, so 800. Then I'll make a conditional that when the current page width is less than 992, the tablet size, the font size should be 36. Now I'll add another text above this text, and this text will be playlist. I'll just bold this text. I'll go to the layout and untick the element is visible on page load box, and I'll make a condition so this element will be visible only when the width is bigger or equals to 768. I'm doing this because in the mobile view it will interfere with the responsiveness. So I want it to be visible only when we're bigger than the mobile view. Now we finished with the liked header. So let's create a new group that will be our inside here. No, not inside the home. Below the home container. And this will be our liked container. Our liked container should not be visible on page load. And I'll put on the left and the right padding 24 pixels, and I'll also copy the condition from the liked container when it's visible, so also the liked container will be visible. So I'll copy the liked header condition that when the get sub from page URL is liked display, this element should be visible. Now the first element should be a text, so I'll take this playlist text, I'll put it here, I'll delete this condition. I'll add another one after we put in the repeating group here. I'll just change the text to say no liked songs. So this is a placeholder when we don't have any like songs for the user. I'll change the weight to be 500 and the color to be gray 40. Now below this text, I'll add a repeating group, and this repeating group will be very simple. So the type of content will be the song data type, and the data source will be the variables from the hidden variables pop-up. So the favorite songs variable, list of songs. I'll change this repeating group name to be repeating group liked songs. Now I can go back to the text no like songs and add a condition that it will be visible only when the repeating group like songs list of songs first item is empty. So it means if the repeating group is empty, it will show this placeholder text. Let's go back to the repeating group. Let's change the width and the height in the layout. So I'll untick the fit width to content and I'll make the height 0. Now I'll go to the appearance tab and I'll untick the fixed number of rows. Now instead of repeating myself, I can just go to the search group. I'll find this group song search cell. I'll copy it and just paste it here in the like songs. I'll quickly change this search cell to be the liked songs cell. So I've copied the group song from the search repeating group because it has the same appearance and the same functionality. Just a minor difference is the heart icon. It should always be filled, and when we click it, it just unlikes the song and kicks it out from this repeating group. So I'll make this heart filled like this, and I'll make the icon color a primary. I'll go to the condition and delete this condition, and now I'll just change here the icon like to be the liked songs, so we know it's from the liked songs, and I'll add a workflow. So this workflow should trigger the unlike custom event that we've created. The song should be the parent group song. And that's it for the unliking workflow. So I'll change it to red to indicate that it's related to the like songs feature, and let's see that everything works. So I'll go to the liked songs and I'll press here on this icon, and we can see it just unlikes the song from the database. Now I'll just want to check the responsiveness of this page. Yeah, it looks great, it's all centered, and the mobile works perfectly. So before we finish this phase, I want to add quick 2 workflows. So the first workflow will be when we click on this liked songs, it will also send us to the liked songs. So I'll do it like this. I'll go to the home container, I'll hide the light container, or rather I'll need the home header and not the liked header. Great, so this is the group that I meant. I'll need to add a workflow to navigate it to the current page and send some more parameters. I'll send 2 parameters. The first one will be the tab, and we'll get the option from the option set menu, home, display, and the second one will be the sub of the get an option from the option set menu, sub menu, and the liked display. That's it. For the second workflow that I wanted to touch on, I'll just change it to green, is this inner header workflow. So if you remember, we made the inner header home or playlist show the mobile sidebar, and then it animates the sidebar. But we added another inner header reusable element to the search and settings tab. So we'll need to also handle this. So I'll add here an OR operation. When OR inner header search settings show mobile is yes, then it also will fire this workflow. I'll just need to reset it. So I'll just copy paste here and change here the inner header to be the search and settings header. So it's also resetted to no. Now let's go back to the page and go to the liked songs tab. Great. So we finished here. Let's go to the follow along document and tick that we've designed the liked songs interface with displaying the user's liked songs, and we add functionality to unlock the songs. As you remember, we already optimized the performance with the database structure. Great job so far. Now let's create the create playlist pop-up so users can add their own playlist to the app. Now the create playlist pop-up will be very similar to the create song pop-up. So I'll just go here to the create song pop-up and I'll right click here on the reusable element and I'll choose to clone this reusable element. So I'll clone the create song pop-up and I'll call it create playlist pop-up. That's great. Now we just need to make a few quick changes here. So here in the layout of this create playlist pop-up, I'll change the default builder width to be 400. I'll change the text here from add a song to create a playlist, a regular L. I'll delete this text. I'll delete one input. I'll delete both of those files, even this group. So you should only have this group file audio and take this input, put it inside this group file audio. Now delete these group inputs. Now change this group audio file to be the group playlist name. Now let's change this text to be the playlist name with a regular L. Now we need to just change this input styling. So the input first of all will be input playlist name. The placeholder can be something like workout. I'll change the placeholder color to be gray 50. I'll make the background style as none. And I'll also define each border independently. So I don't want a top border, I don't want a right border, and I don't want a left border. I'll just want to leave this border bottom as solid with a width of 1 and the color should be gray 70. Now I'll also change this bottom right corner to be 0 and the bottom left to be 0. Now I think this is it. So I'll just go here to the pop-up and I'll go to the layout and I'll make the min width something like 200. And now because we cloned this reusable element, we have some issues. So let's go and fix them. So here we don't want to create a song, we want to create a playlist. I'll just delete those and add all fields. The name should be the input playlist name, value. The songs we'll add later. Currently we're just creating the playlist and it will be empty of songs. And the user should be the current user. So now we've creating the playlist and we have no issues. The notifier should say playlist created and then everything stays the same. We hide and reset the pop-up. Here in the close icon we just hide the pop-up and in the show we reset and show the pop-up. So it was very easy because everything just cloned itself and it's the same workflows that we need. I'll just change here the colors to be the blue color to indicate it belongs to the playlist feature. So everything that belongs in the app to the playlist feature will just change the color of the workflow to be blue. Now I just want to use this create playlist pop-up in the sidebar and the mobile sidebar. So let's go here in the mobile sidebar where we have the workflow of the plus icon. So if you remember, we have this plus icon that when we click it, it will trigger the login pop-up if the current user is logged out. But now I want to show the create playlist pop-up. So let's add the create playlist pop-up into the page and change the max width to be 400. Now I can go here to the workflow tab and trigger an event from the reusable element, create playlist pop-up, and it will show the pop-up. I want it to happen only when the current user is logged in. Great. So if the current user is logged in, it will show us the create playlist pop-up. But if the current user is logged out, it will show us the login or sign up pop-up. Now I'll just copy this action and I'll add it to the mobile sidebar like this. So the reusable element is not here. So I'll go to the elements and create playlist pop-up onto the page. We can go to the layout and set the max width as 400. I'll go back to the workflow and we have the reusable here. So create playlist pop-up, show pop-up. That's great, the same as the sidebar. So now let's go test it. So as we can see, I'm logged in here and now I should be able to create a new playlist. I'll call it workout. And here the playlist has been created. Great. So now if we press the playlist, it should redirect us to the playlist tab with the playlist unique ID. But currently we won't see anything because this is what we're gonna do in the next video. We're gonna showcase the whole playlist here and all the songs, and we'll also start adding songs to the playlist. Then we'll be able to see the images of the songs here. Great, so now we can add playlist to the app. Let's see what happens if we're logging out. First of all, we can't see the playlist because it belongs to the user who was logged in. And now if I try to add a playlist as a logged out user, it just prompts me to log in. Great job. So I'll go back to the follow along document and we'll just tick that we designed the create playlist pop-up, we had the inputs for the playlist name, we implemented the workflow to save the new playlist, and we included a success notification. Great job so far. In the next video, we're gonna create the playlist tab. Now we're gonna build the playlist UI. So when we click here on the playlist, we should go to the playlist tab, and the same as the liked songs, we should have the playlist name here and the songs below. And I'll also want to add a button to add songs to the playlist. So we'll also create an option to add songs to the playlist. So let's go back to the Bubble editor and start building it. I'll open here the home or playlist tab group. I'll show this group in the editor. I'll also open the top gradient group. Now let's add another group below this home header and liked header and call it playlist header. Now for this playlist header group, I'll set the type of content to be a playlist, and I'll also set the data source to get the data from the page URL from the parameter called playlist, and it will be the type of playlist. And that should be it with the data source. Now I'll go to the layout tab, I'll set this container layout to be a row, and I'll set a space between both for the rows and the columns of 16 pixels. Now I don't want this element to be visible on page load, and I want this element to fit with to content. Now I'll just add 64 margins on the top and 16 padding on the right. Now I'll go to the conditional tab and define when this element is gonna be visible. So this element is gonna be visible when get tab from page URL is the get option from option set menu, playlist display. So when we're at the playlist tab, it will show this playlist header group. Now I'll take another group and drop it inside this playlist header, and I'll call this group playlist images. And I'll change the appearance of this group. I'll make the data source the parent group's playlist, and I'll change the type of content to be the playlist. I'll set the background style to be a flat color, and the color should be gray 70. Now for the roundness of this group, it should be 5. Now I'll just set the minimum width in the layout to be 200 pixels, and I'll feed width to content. Now in this group, I want to show all the images of the first songs of the playlist. So I'll grab a group, put it inside this group. This group should be a row, and it should accept a playlist as its type of content, and we'll take the parent group's playlist. I'll also define the borders independently, so I want the top left to be 5 roundness and the top right also to be 5. Now I'll take an image element and drop it inside this group. I'll make the layout unfixed width. I'll set this min width box to be 50 and the max width to be 50%. I want this element to stretch and be half of this group's width, like you see here. So I'll also keep the aspect ratio fixed as 1:1, and now I'll go to the appearance tab and I'll set the dynamic image to be the parents group playlist songs, first item, image. Now I'll also want to make this top left corner a roundness of 5. So I'll define the borders independently, and I'll take this top left corner and put it as a 5. Now I can just copy and paste this image, and it will be in the same group. Now the top right should be 5 and the top left should be 0 in terms of borders. I'll also change the dynamic image to be item number 2 from this playlist songs. Now I'll take this group of the 2 images, I'll copy it and paste it in the bigger group, so we have 4 images overall. but we need to change the borders here to be the bottom left as 5 and the top left should be 0. And I'll also change this to be item number 3, and the last image should also be item number 4 with the bottom right corner as 5 and this one is 0. And now I'll just change the image's name to make it organized. So playlist image 1, just copy it and paste it here. I'll call it playlist image 2, 3 and 4. Now I'll close this images group and I'll add another group besides this group inside the playlist header. Now this group will be called group playlist details. I'll change the type of content to be a playlist and the data source to the parents group playlist. For the layout, I'll change the container alignment to be to the middle, and I'll also set the vertical alignment to stretch the element. Now I'll take this fit width to content box, and now I'll set a condition to handle responsiveness. So if the current page width is less than 768, the mobile landscape, I want the min width of this element to be 50%. Now if we're in a mobile screen, this group of playlist details will just fall below these group images. Now for the details inside this group, we can go to the liked header group and open this group like title and just copy both of these texts. It will be just faster, and paste it inside this group playlist details. Now I'll just make sure this playlist text is not visible on page load, but is visible when we're in the desktop view. And for this title of the playlist, like songs, first of all I'll change this appearance to be the dynamic data of the parents group playlist name. And for the organization's sake, I'll just write the canvas placeholder to be workout. Now I want to add a play button, so I'll group this text inside a row container. I'll make the layout a space between of 16s in the column gap. I'll also make this group horizontally aligned to the middle. Now I'll go and copy the play button from the home header. So I'll just show it and take this group play button. I'll copy it. I'll unshow the home header, and here with the text I'll just paste it like this. I'll change the name to be group play button playlist. In the appearance, I will just pass as the data source the parents group playlist and set the type of content to be the playlist. Now for the icon inside this group, I want the opacity to be 100. I don't want it to be like the other places when you need to hover in order to see it, but everything else can stay the same. I'll just need to go to the condition tab and just change this condition to be when group play button playlist is hovered. This button will expand in its height and width, but the opacity is not longer needed. Now I'll copy and paste this condition, and I'll make it also when the current page width is less than 768 pixels. So now when we're in the mobile view and we can't hover elements, so this button will be big all the time. Now I think this is it for the playlist header, and we can now move on and add another group below the home container and the like container, and we'll call this group the playlist container. For this playlist container condition, I'll just go to the playlist header, I'll copy the condition and paste it here. So when we're in the tab playlist, it will show this group. Otherwise, on page load, I want it to not be visible. I'll apply a space between the elements of 8 pixels between the rows, and I'll also want to add some paddings to the left and the right of 24 pixels. Now I'll also want to set the data source of this group to be, first of all, the type of content playlist, and we'll get the playlist from the URL. The parameter name will be the playlist of type playlist, and that's it. Now I'll go ahead and find the repeating group of the songs in the search group. I'll just copy it. I'll hide this search or settings tab, and I'll go back to the playlist container and paste this repeating group right here. Now I'll change the repeating group songs name to be not search but the playlist songs. Now this song's UI is the same as the search UI, so I leave it like this, but the data source should be a different one. So I'll clear the expression here and I'll set the data to be the parent group's playlist songs. This repeating group should be still the type of content song because we're going to display here a list of songs. Now I'll just go to the conditional tab and delete this condition because we don't use the search here. Now I'll also want to add a group to allow us to add songs. So I'll close this searcher settings tab, I'll open the playlist container and I'll add a group here above the repeating group and we'll call it group add songs. Now for this group appearance, I'll change the roundness of this group to be 10. And I'll also add a new transition for the background style. Now in the layout tab, I want to set this container layout to be a row and I'll apply a space between the columns of 16 pixels. This element minimum width should be 280. I'll also set the min height to be a 60 pixels long and the padding for the left and the right should be 8 pixels. Now I'll just want to add a little conditional for the UI, so when this group is hovered, this background style should be a flat color and the background color should be the text with 10 opacity. Now in this group I'm gonna need an icon and also a text. For the icon I will change the icon to be the add icon from the material library. This icon color should be the text color and in the layout I'll change the width and the height to be 40. And I'll also vertically align it to the middle. For the text of this group, I'll change the text to be add songs to playlist. I'll change the font weight to be 500 and I'll also want to vertically align it to the middle. So I'll do it like this. Now let's see the UI in action. So I'll refresh here the page and yes, we have our workout playlist showing up here, but we need to add songs to the playlist. So let's go back to the Bubble editor and create a new reusable element. We'll call it add songs reusable element. Now I'll change this reusable element's appearance to be a floating group. I'll change the type of content of this floating group to be the playlist. I'll make the background color the background 2 color and I'll also want to add a little line here for the left border. So I'll define each border independently and in the left border style I'll make it solid with the color of gray 70. Now I'll just expand this reusable element so we have some space to work with. So the default width should be 400 and the height, minimum height, should be 600. I'll take a group and drop it inside our reusable element and I'll call this group add songs. Now this group should be a column with a space of 16 pixels between the rows and I'll also want to add padding of 16 pixels to the top, bottom, left and right sides. And I also want to untick this fit height to content, so this whole group will be on the whole reusable element. Now I'll take another group and put it inside this group add songs and I'll call this group top. Now I'll add the space between the elements to be 8 pixels for the rows. I'll horizontally align it to the middle and I'll also make the min height 60 pixels. Now I'll go ahead and grab a group. I'll drop it inside this group top and I'll call this group title. I'll make this group container layout to be aligned to parent and I'll also horizontally align it to the middle. In this group I want to add a text and this text should be in the middle like this. I'll change this text to be add to playlist and I want this text weight to be 500. I'll also add an icon in this group and I'll make it align to the top right corner. I'll change this icon to be the close icon and I'll change the color to be gray 50. I'll also add a notifier inside this group. I'll change the width and the height to be 1, and in the appearance I'll change the position to be the top center. Success background gray 70, success font color should be the text color, border success gray 70, wait, I'm here. Success icon primary should be the primary color, and the success icon secondary should be the text color. Now I'll go ahead and close this group, and I'll add the fuzzy search and autocomplete plugin right here below the group, and I'll also want an input to get the search term inside. So for the input I can choose a style to be the form input. I'll change the placeholder to be search song. In the layout tab I'll untick this fixed width box, and I'll also change the height to be 40. Now I'll also set here in the appearance tab way down the IT attribute to be search song. Now I'll copy this and put it inside our fuzzy plugin. So just like the search tab, I'll put the input box ID like this. I'll make the threshold to be 0.2. I'll make the data type to be the song data type, and the data source to be a search for songs, like this. Now the field to search, I want it to search by the title and also by the author. And I'll tick this box to set text to match from an input box. So now we've connected the input box with the search song ID to this plugin. I'll just change the name here of the plugin to be search songs, and I'll also make it not visible by changing the width and the height to be 1, and also ticking this box of making the element fixed width. Great, so now we can close this group top and add another group below it. This group should be below it, and I'll call it group repeating group add songs. In this group I'll just want to change the paddings to be top 12, bottom 12, and the left and the right should be 8 pixels. Now what's left is only the repeating group, so I'll go and find the repeating group element and drop it inside this group. I'll change the name of the repeating group to be add songs to playlist. I'll untick this fit width to content box. I'll make the min width 0, the min height 0, and now I'll go to the appearance tab. I'll change the type of content to be a song. The data source should be this, do a search for songs. I'll untick this fixed number of rows box and make the minimum height of a row 60 pixels. And like the repeating group from the search tab, I'll add a condition when the fuzzy autocomplete search songs matches first item is not empty, so we have some matches in this search term, then the data source should be the fuzzy search matches. Now for this cell of the repeating group, I'll add a group. This group will be the current cell song in the data source, and the type of content will be the song data type. I'll go to the layout tab and set this group layout to be a row with a column gap of 16 pixels. I'll also want the min width to be 280 and the min height to be 60 pixels. Now in this group I want to have an image. This image, dynamic image, should be the parent group songs image. I'll also want the roundness to be 5, not 45 but 5, and in the layout I'll set the width to be 48 and the aspect ratio fixed as 1:1. I'll also vertically align this to the middle. Now I'll grab two texts and put it right here. The first one will be the parent group songs title, and the second one should be the parent group songs author. Now this author text should be font size 14 pixels and the font color should be something like gray 40. I'll also want the font weight to be 500, and let's go to this song title and change the weight to be 600, and this is it for those two texts. So I'll take both of them and group them in a container, a column container. Now this column container minimum height should be 48 pixels. I'll also add padding to the top and the bottom of 4 pixels. I'll vertically align it to the middle. and I'll choose this option to spread the text. Now we have the functionality of displaying the songs, but I'll also need to add here an icon of an add icon so we can add the song into the playlist. Now I'll change the color to be the gray 50 color. I'll go to the layout tab and just center it vertically, and I'll also add a condition that will say when this song is inside the playlist already, this icon should be minus. So I'll change the icon to be the remove icon like this, and this will happen when add songs playlist songs contains the parent group songs. So if this cell's song is inside the playlist already, it will show the remove icon, and now we'll add the workflows to add and remove them from the playlist. Now I'll go to the Appearance tab to add a workflow to this icon. Now when I press this icon and the playlist from the Add Songs Reusable songs contains the parent group songs, I should remove it from the playlist. So I will make the action, make changes to a thing. I'll take from the Add Songs Reusable the playlist, and I'll change the field of the songs, and I'll remove the parent group songs from the songs list. Now in the second action, I'll want to notify that the song is removed. Now we just need to make the opposite workflow, so I'll just copy and paste it here. Now this workflow should fire only when the Add Songs playlist songs doesn't contain the parent group song. So now if it doesn't contain, we should add the parent group songs to the list of songs and notify that the song has been added. And that's great. I'll also go to the Design tab, and for the last workflow here, I'll add it to the close icon to set a state. The state of the Add Songs will create a new custom state that is called hide ? And it will be a yes or no type of field. So when we press the close icon, I want this hide value to be yes, but in the default state, I'll want this to be no. Great, so we've done with this reusable element. I'll just mark all these workflows to be blue because they are related to the playlist feature. Now let's go to the index page and add this reusable element that we've created. So it's the Add Songs reusable element. I'll want the data source to be the playlist container playlist. So when we're in the playlist tab and we see the playlist container, it will have the playlist from the URL, if you remember. Now we just call the same playlist that is presented in the UI inside this Add Songs group. So we know which playlist we need to add or remove songs to. Now for the layout, I'll untick this fit height to content and I'll make the max width 400. I'll untick this element is visible on page load, and I'll also make this horizontally float relative to the right. And I'll also add a condition for the responsiveness, so when the width of this page is less than 768, I'll want the max width of this element to be infinity, so it will stretch through the whole screen. Now this element isn't visible on page load, and we need to show it only when we click on the Add Songs group inside the Playlist tab. So let's find here this group, so Add Songs, this is the one. Let's add a workflow when we click this group. Now when we click this group, I want it to animate the element Add Songs from the right in, so transition slide in, and I'll add a workflow of the type do when condition is true. So I'll want this workflow to run every time when Add Songs hide is yes. So the Add Songs reusable custom state hide, it will be yes only when we click on the X icon where we want to close it. So now we need to animate the element outside, so it will be the Add Songs element, and we'll call it the right out. So transition slide right out. And I'll also reset the state of this Add Songs reusable to be hide equals no. So next time when we want to hide it, it will work. So this is just for the reset. Now I'll color both of these workflows to be blue. because they are related to the playlist feature. Now let's go to the preview and try to add some songs to this playlist. So when I click here, I should see the add to playlist. Now if I click here, it will add the song to the playlist. Now we also see the image is updated here and also in the sidebar. Let's add this one too. We see it updates here in the images and the addition of the song works. And we can also see that the removal of the songs also works. Now let's check out the search. So if I write Not Like Us, it will find us Till I Collapse. I collapse. See, the search works great. And also this close icon will close it in a cool animation. So what's left in this playlist tab is to make this icon play the songs, but this is later on when we build the player. But now we can make the functionality of the like song in this tab also work. So we'll do it by going to the design tab. I'll hide this add songs reusable. I'll choose this icon and I'll change it from the search to be the like playlist. So we know this is the icon like from the playlist tab. Now I'll add a workflow, and the condition of this workflow will be just the same as here. So when the variable favorite songs list of songs contains the parent group song, I'll want to trigger unlike song and pass the parent group songs as the song to the workflow. Now I'll just do the opposite here. So I'll copy and paste this workflow, and this only when rule should be doesn't contain, and if it doesn't contain, it should trigger the like song workflow. Now let's change both of them to be red so we stay organized. And now let's check it in action. So I like the Not Like Us, and it works. See? That's great. Let's add another song to this group and see that it's already liked. Yes, so everything works so far. Great job, guys. I'll just go to the follow along document and tick that we've built the playlist UI. We display user created playlist. We are showing the songs within the playlist. And we also created the add songs reusable. We designed it as a reusable element. We added the functionality to search and add songs to the playlist. Also remove, of course. And we also made the functionality to show the add songs screen with the add songs button in the playlist tab. So great job so far. We finished with this part. Next we'll build the player to actually play the songs so we can enjoy them. Now we're gonna build the main feature of actually playing the song with the player element. So we first build the player UI that is gonna be pretty easy, and then we're gonna make the functionality, it's a bit complex, with the workflows to actually play the songs. So let's start by adding a floating group onto this page, like this. The floating group will be called player. I'll set the vertically float relative to the bottom, and I'll also change the background color to be the background color. Now in the layout tab, I'll change the min height to be 120 pixels, and I'll untick this element fixed width box and change the min width to be 0. I'll also add 32 paddings to the left and the right, and I'll untick this element is visible on page load box, so I'll have control when we see this player element. Now I'll define some conditions for this player element. So when this group, I'll create a new custom state for this group called chosen song, and it will be the type of song data type. So when this floating group's chosen song is not empty, this group should be visible. And I'll also handle some responsiveness with setting the condition of current width page is less than 768 pixels. The left and the right padding should be 16. So I'll do it like this. Now I'll take a group and put it inside this player element. I'll change this group's names to be duration. And inside this group, we're gonna display the duration of the song. So I'll go to the layout tab and change the container layout to be a row. and I'll set a gap between the columns of 8 pixels. Now for the functionality, we'll need to add a plugin. So let's go to the plugins tab and add a plugin called Audio Player, and it should be this one, Audio Player Full BEP. I'll install this plugin and I'll go back to the design tab. I'll search the audio player element and I'll add it inside the duration group. Now for this audio player element, I'll set the dynamic link to be the players, our floating group, chosen song, audio file. I'll set this box to autoplay the song, and I'll also change the colors. So the slider background color should be the text color, and the slider thumb color should be the primary color, like this. Now for the layout of this element, I'll just untick this fixed width box, and I'll set the minimum height to be 25. Now in this duration group, I'll also want to add a text. This text should be the audio players duration string, like this. I'll change the font weight to be 500, and I'll also go to the layout to vertically align it to the middle, and this is it for this text. So now I will add another group below our duration group, and I'll call this group player display. Here we should display the song and also the controls like pause, skip, and repeat. Now for this player display, I'll need the song group, so I'll go here inside the search cell. I'll change this group's name to be the playlist cell, because this is the playlist cell. I'll copy this group and paste it inside the player. So here in the player display, I'll just paste it. I'll open this player display and change the group song to be the player song. Now inside here, I'll open this and I'll change this group song between the image and the icon to be fit to content, so it collapses. I actually don't need this group song player, I'll just put it right here. I'll delete this group and I'll call this group song player. I'll change the column gap to be 8 pixels and I'll also fit the width to content here. Now I want this group to be at minimum width of 25% of this whole group, and I'll add a margin to the bottom of 8 pixels. I'll also change these paddings to be 0 from all sides, and I'll go check the image and make sure this element is fixed width with 48 pixels and an aspect ratio of 1:1. And now for the mobile screen's responsiveness, I'll take those both texts and I'll set the max width to be 150, so it never goes beyond that, and the max height to be 24, so it will all align in the same row. Now if the text is too long, it will just cut it and won't interfere with the responsiveness. Now that we have this group song, I'll want to add another group inside, and this group should be the group controls, like this. This group should be a row aligned to the middle, and I'll add a space between the columns to be 4 pixels. I'll feed the width to content here, and that's it. I'll go back to our player display group. I'll change it to be a row. I'll make the container alignment space between, and I'll apply a space between the columns of 4 pixels. Now it seems right. So I'll take an icon and add it inside the controls group here. The icon should be the play arrow icon in the field category, like this. And the icon color should be the background color, so it's black. Now I'll change the background style to be a flat color of white. And the roundness should be a perfect circle, so I'll change it to 100. Now for the layout tab, I'll just change this icon width and height to be 48, like this. And now I'll add a condition to change this icon from play and pause. So I'll define a condition that the icon will be the pause icon, like this, only when the audio player that we have event is play. So this plugin have a property called event. When the player is playing a song, this property text is play. So now this icon will be the pause icon when this audio player is playing a song. So we could pause the song. Now I'll just change the name of this icon to be icon play. And that's it. Now I'll go and check the two issues that we have. So this is the group song player, and the data source should be the player's chosen song, like this. Now we don't have issues, and we can add the functionality. Now I'll press this icon and add a workflow to it. So the workflow should be the action toggle, play or pause an audio player. So now if we press this icon, when it's playing the song, it will pause it, and when it's paused, it will return to playing the song. Now this audio player plugin, when we start to play a song, it always mutes the song. So I want to make a do when condition is true workflow. So when this audio player muted audio property is yes, and I want it to run every time that this expression is true, and I want the action here to be toggle the mute audio player action. So when it's muted, it will just automatically unmute it. Now I'll go ahead and configure a custom workflow, and this workflow will be activated every time we want to play a song. So we'll call it play song workflow, and for the parameters we'll require a song parameter like this from the song data type. And now in order to play the song, I'll set the state of our player element to be chosen song, the song that we just passed in this workflow. So we've also set a condition on the player. When the chosen song is not empty, it will show us the player and it will automatically start playing the song, because we also checked the autoplay checkbox inside the plugin. So now when I set a chosen song for this player custom state, here in the condition, it will show us the player element when the chosen song is not empty. So when the workflow play song is activated, and it also here in the plugin will autoplay the song. So it gets from the player's chosen song's audio file the dynamic link, and it will autoplay it. Now when we activate this play song workflow, it will just show us the audio player and will also start playing the song. Now we just need to set some triggers to activate this play song custom workflow. So now we'll just trigger it from every song in our app. So here we have the group playlist cell. I'll add a workflow on it, and this workflow should trigger the custom event play song and will pass the current cell song into the workflow. So I want this action to trigger the play song workflow only when the current user is logged in. And if the user is not logged in, it won't have the option to play songs in our app, and it will be prompted to log in. So we'll trigger a custom event from a reusable element. The reusable element should be the login and sign up pop-up, and it will show the pop-up when the current user is logged out, and it will prompt it to log in before he can play any song. Now we'll have the exact same workflow 2 more times. So this is for the playlist cell, but we'll need to find the group song also in the search cell here, and the last workflow should be from the liked songs cell like this. Now we have the exact same workflow for all of them. That's great. So before we put all of those workflows inside a folder, let's go back into the preview. So now when we click a song, it should start playing the song and show us the audio player. I'll just mute it so we don't have any copyright issues here. But here you can see the Not Like Us has started playing. You see here the progress bar, and this audio player plugin knows the exact duration of the audio file that we've provided him. And now we can also stop the song and continue it as we wish. Now this controller should be in the middle. So what we can do is to go to the design tab. In the player group, we can close this duration and player display groups, and we'll add another group inside here, and we'll call this group the placeholder group. Now this placeholder group should be at least 25 from the minimum width, and it should fit the width to content. Now I want this placeholder only to be on the desktop view, because in the mobile we don't need it. So I'll make this element not visible on page load. I'll go to the condition and make it visible when the page width is bigger or equal to 768 pixels. And now I'll take this placeholder and put it inside the player display group like this, and I'll make it the last one. So this controllers is on the middle. Now let's go back to the app and try and play till I collapse. Now we can see it's 6 minutes, it started playing. If I had audio in my computer, we would hear the song playing by now. But if I press on pause, it will pause the song. And if I press on play, it will continue playing it. So now we have the single song functionality. I'll just remove this hover effect and add an option to like and dislike the songs from within the player. And we'll finish with this player part. So let's go back to the player. I'll choose this group song player, and in the conditions, I'll delete this condition. I'll go to the icon like, and I'll change this to be the icon like player and not the playlist. It feels too close to the text here, so I'll add a margin on the left to be 4 pixels. And now I'll go to the appearance to add a workflow. So the workflow should be exactly the same as the playlist icon and the search icon. So I can just copy here this expression. So I'll just refresh your memory. So when the favorite songs variable list of songs contains the parent group song, we need to unlike this song like this. And now I'll copy this one, paste it, and we'll do the opposite. So when it doesn't contain the parent group song, we'll not unlike it, we will like this song. Now that everything works, let's change this workflows color to be red, and the workflows belong to the player feature. We'll change them to be purple, and we'll create a new folder called the player. Now the play song is also a purple one from the player folder. This workflow should also be purple. This one too, from the player purple, and also this one. That's great. So let's go to the follow along document and tick off what we finished for now. So we've integrated the player plugin for audio playback. We've designed the player controls. We have the play, pause. Next, we will add the next and previous ones. This will be relevant when we'll allow the player to accept playlist and not just a single song. We've implemented the favorite song functionality within the player, and we added the progress bar and playback time to display. Great job so far. So the playlist for the single song is done. Next, we'll make the player accept playlist so we can play the whole playlist songs. Now we're gonna implement the logic for our player element to accept playlist, aka a list of songs, and we'll add the functionality to skip to the previous song or the next song, and also we'll handle what happens when the song is over. Should it repeat the song, should it repeat the playlist, or should it just end the playlist? So we'll start by adding the icons to the controllers. So I'll copy this icon, play, and I'll paste it 3 times here. So the first icon should be the next icon. The second icon should be the previous icon. And the last icon will be the repeat icon. Now in terms of order, the repeat should be the first one in the group. The play should be between the next and the previous, but the next should be the last one and the previous should be before the play. Now all the icons are the same, so let's customize them. I'll go to the appearance tab in this icon previous, and I'll write here previous, and I'll choose this one. I'll set this icon color to be gray 50, and I'll set this background style to be none. Now for this icon, I don't want it to show on page load, and I want it to show only when the current page width is bigger or equal to 768 pixels. And now this should display the element. So this element is visible. I'll copy this condition and I'll go to the next icon. I'll paste it here. I'll delete this one. And in the layout, I'll untick this element is visible on page load box. And I'll change the appearance of this icon to be the next icon, this one, with a gray 50 color. And also, I'll change the background style to be none. Now for the repeat icon, it will be the icon repeat from the phosphor library, like this. I'll change the icon color to be gray 50. I'll change the background style to be none. And I'll also add a new transition of the icon color, because this one is gonna change colors. Now I'll go to the layout and make it a bit smaller. It should be 40 for the width and 40 for the height. And I'll make it vertically aligned to the center. In order to handle playlist and decide this player's behavior, I'll need to add some custom states to the player. So I'll open the player element and the custom states. I'll create a new state called chosen playlist, and it will be a list of songs. Now to decide which song in this list of songs is gonna be played, I'll add an index custom state of type number. And for the repeat behavior, I'll add two custom states. The first one will be repeat question mark, and it will be a yes or no field, and the default will be no. This custom state will be responsible on the repeating of the whole playlist. And I also want to have an option to repeat a song. So I'll add repeat song question mark custom state of the type yes or no field, and I'll set the default value to be no. Now I'll go back to our repeat icon and set a condition. I'll delete this one and I'll add a new condition when the players repeat. I have a little typo, so let's fix it before we continue. So I'll go to the player custom states and change it to repeat. Great. So I'll go back to the icon repeat, and when the players repeat is yes, I'll make the icon color the primary color, and I'll define another condition to handle when the players repeat song is yes. It should be the icon repeat with this one, repeat once. Now we've set the UI and we just need to configure all the workflows. So I'll start by setting the previous and next functionality. So I'll add a workflow to the previous icon, and in this workflow I want to have two behaviors. The first behavior will be the action of skip back an audio player, and I'll skip back for 10 seconds of the song only when the player's chosen playlist first item is empty. So when we don't have a chosen playlist for the player, it will assume we only have one song and it will skip back 10 seconds. And now for the behavior, when we do have a chosen playlist in the player, I'll need to add a new custom event. I'll call it play previous song in playlist. And here the action should be to set the state of the player, the custom state indexed, and here I need to make an expression to decide if it's the first song of the playlist, it will just play the last song as the previous one, and if it's not the first song, it will just decrease the index by 1. So I'll make it by taking the player's index, and I'll say if this index is 1, format it as a text. Now if we choose to play the previous song and the player's index is actually 1, I'll need to change the player's index to the last song. So I'll do it by calling the player element with the chosen playlist custom state, and I'll take the count of all the songs in the playlist. So that way, if we have, for example, 5 songs in the playlist, when it's 1, it will just go to the 5th song. Now in the case the index is not 1 and it's bigger than 1, I'll just call the player's index and I'll decrease it by 1. Now that we have this text formatted, I'll just need to convert it to a number because the index should be a number. After we have the right index, I'll need to set another state of the player, and I'll choose the chosen song, and we'll take the chosen song from the player's chosen playlist, the list of songs, and we'll give it the item of this player's current index. So if the index is 4, it will play the 4th song, if it's 3, the 3rd, and so on. Now for the workflow to play the next song, we'll just copy this one, paste it. I'll change here to be play next song in playlist. In the first action, I'll need to change from the player index is 1, so the player index is the player chosen playlist count. So if now the player index, for example, is 4, and it's like the player chosen playlist count, so the all songs count in the playlist is 4, it will be yes. So now, when it's yes, we want to set the index to be 1. So now it restarts the playlist. But if the index is not the last one in this playlist, we can just increment it by 1. And then, just like before, we convert it to a number. And for the second action, just leave it like this, because the chosen song should be from the chosen playlist list of songs, item number, the player index that we just configure here. This is what determines which song is gonna be next and also previous. Now I can go back to the icon previous workflow, and here in step 1 we handle the case that we don't have any chosen playlist. And now if we do have a playlist, we'll trigger a custom state, play previous song only when the player's chosen playlist first item is not empty. So if we have a chosen playlist and songs inside it, it will just trigger to play the previous song. Now we just need to do the same for the next icon, so not the previous, the next one. Here I can skip ahead the audio player for 10 seconds when the player chosen playlist first item is empty. So it's only one song, and therefore we just skip 10 seconds forward. Now for the second action, I'll trigger the custom event of play next song in playlist only when the player's chosen playlist first item is not empty. So we do have some songs and we want to play the next one. Now, like the custom workflow play song that we've created, we need the custom workflow to be called play playlist. And we'll need to pass here a list of songs. So let's call it songs of data type song, and it should be a list. Now when we trigger this play playlist workflow, I'll set the state of the player chosen playlist custom state to be the list of songs that we just passed. Also, I'll want to set the index as 1 because we start from the first song. And now I can just set the chosen song to be the first song from the songs that we passed inside the workflow. So songs, first item. Now that we have this custom workflow ready, we just need to trigger it when we play a playlist. So we need to trigger this custom workflow from the element play button playlist. Like this, we'll add the workflow and we'll trigger the custom event play playlist. Now I'll pass the songs as the parent group's playlist songs, and I want it to happen only when the current user is logged in. Otherwise, if he's logged out, I want to trigger a custom event from a reusable element, the login sign up pop-up, and it will prompt the user to log in or sign up before he can play any playlist. So in the only when rule, I'll just write current user is logged out. Now let's try it out. So I've added some songs to the app, so we now can add those songs into this playlist. I'll add Lose Yourself and Gureng, for example. We can see now that all the images are filled here and it looks nice. And when we click this button, it should start playing the playlist. So I'll mute it for a second. And now we can see the playlist is started from the first song. After that, I can just click here and it will play the next song till I collapse. Now if I press again, it will be Lose Yourself, Gureng. And now when I press again, it should play the Not Like Us song, as this song is the last one in the playlist. That's great, so it works. And if I press the previous button now, it should play the Gureng song. So let's try it. That's great. And if we go back, it's lose yourself till I collapse and not like us again. That's great. So I'll pause it. Now the previous as the next buttons are working. Let's check out also the single song. So if I choose here till I collapse and I play it, it should just skip ahead 10 seconds. I think I know why. Because we didn't reset the chosen playlist when we play a song. So I'll pause it, I'll go back to the editor and the workflow tab. So in this icon next workflow, it should skip ahead 10 seconds if we don't have anything in the chosen playlist. In order to reset the playlist, I should go to the play song custom workflow and add here another state of the chosen playlist, and it should be empty. Now, when we choose a playlist, I'll do the same as before. It will play the next song when we press next, but if we just choose one song, it will just skip ahead 10 seconds, as you can see here. I'll do it a lot of times so you can see it. And it also works for the previous one. Great job. Now we need to handle the repeat behavior and to decide what happens when the song is finished. So now the song is finished and it's not doing anything. And it's not the behavior that we want, at least for the play playlist workflow. So I'll go back to the editor. I'll change all the tested workflows to be purple and the player folder, like this. Now we've almost finished. I just forgot that we need in the home tab here. So let's close the playlist container and open the home container. Here, this button, if you remember, we have this play button here. So when we click this group play button, home, it should also play a song. So I'll go to the appearance tab and add a workflow. The workflow should trigger a custom event of the play song only when the current user is logged in, and the song will be the parent group song. Now, if the user isn't logged in, I will trigger the custom event from the reusable element login signup or popup when the current user is logged out. Great. I'll just mark it in purple and add it to the player folder. Now I'll go back to the design tab and I'll start working on the repeat workflow. So here in the repeat icon, let's add a workflow. For this repeat icon, I'll need two workflows to set up the functionality. So the first one will fire only when the player's repeat is yes. If the icon is already on repeat, I'll want to set the state of the player custom state repeat song. It will be yes, and this will happen only when the player's repeat is yes and the player's repeat song is no. So to understand what I'm doing here, I'll explain that we have three phases that the repeat icon could have. The first option is when it's not on repeat. This is the default option. When we click it once, it should be repeat playlist. Okay, so the icon will be green, but it won't repeat the song itself, it repeats the whole playlist. And this last option will repeat the particular song we're on in the playlist. So first we have a gray icon of repeat, then we click it and it's a green icon of repeat, and then we click again and it will be a green icon of repeat with the one inside. We'll see it all more clearly in a second. So now I'll add another custom state before that. So I'll set the state of the player's element, and this action will happen when we press on the third option when the repeat song is yes and the icon is green with the one inside. So it goes back to the first option when it's neither. So I'll choose the custom state repeat and custom state repeat song, and I'll set it as no, and I'll do it only once the player repeat is yes and the player repeat song is yes. So when both of them is yes, it will just revert to the default when both of them is no. And now I'll copy this workflow and I'll paste another one, and this will be our third option. So I want this workflow to fire when players repeat is no and players repeat song is also no. Now what should happen here in the action is just the repeat should be yes, and the repeat song we can just delete it. And we don't need an only when condition because it's the only action in this workflow. Now if we go to the page and we check this repeating icon, we'll see what happens. So on the first click it should just turn green, and this will indicate the player can repeat itself when the playlist is over. Now if I press again, it should be with this one inside, and in this state it should repeat the particular song we're on in the playlist. And if I click again, it will revert to the default one. So now we have this working, but it's not connected yet to the functionality of playing the playlist. In order to connect it, I'll go back to the editor and add another workflow. This workflow will be a special one. So because we have the plugin of the audio player, we can choose here in the elements workflows, an audio player has ended. Now this workflow will trigger every time a song has ended. We want this workflow to trigger not only when the song is over, but when the player's chosen playlist first item is not empty. So not only that the song is over, it also requires the chosen playlist of the player's element to not be empty. So we have a playlist to play on. Now this workflow should have 3 different actions, and we'll choose between them when we set the only when condition on each of them. So one of them should be the toggle play and pause. So when the song is ended and we have a playlist, it will play again. But I only want to do it once the player repeat song is yes. So if we're on the option of repeat song, it will just repeat itself by playing again. This toggle play or pause action allows us to do it. Now I'll add a step before that will trigger a custom event, and this custom event will be to play the next song in the playlist. Now I want this to happen only when the player's repeat song is no. So when we set the player's repeat song to no, it won't play the exact same song, it will just continue to the next song. Now the last scenario I want to handle, it's when the audio player is finished playing and this is the last song in our playlist. In that case, I want to check if we should repeat the whole playlist again or we should just stop. Now in order to do it, I will add a step before those 2 steps, and I'll call this step terminate this workflow action. Now that means it will terminate this workflow before even one of those steps can fire. So I want it to happen only when the player's chosen playlist count, so the whole songs in the playlist, for example, let's say it's 4, is the player's index. So we also got to the index 4, we just played the 4th song of the playlist and we have overall 4 songs in the playlist. And also I need to make sure that the player's repeat is no. So we don't want to repeat it, because if we do want to repeat it, we don't want to terminate this workflow. We want to just trigger the next song. And if the player's repeat song is yes, it won't play the next song, aka the first song of the playlist. It will just play the last song again. I hope this setup of these steps are clear. If not, you can ask me in the chat, in the comment, in the community, wherever you want. Now let's test it out and see it in action. So I'll choose to play this playlist, and now if I finish this song, it should play the next one, like it did right now. Great, so I'll test it again. Great, it starts the next one by itself, so we handle that. Now let's see what happens when we go to the last song. So here in Gureng, I'll play like this, and that's it, it's stuck. So now when we didn't want to repeat not the playlist and not the song, it will just finish the playlist. Now if I play this song again, and I'll choose to repeat the playlist, this is the custom state that we had to repeat the playlist, and I'll fast forward this song to the end, it should just start from the start. That's great. So we have Not Like Us, after that the Gureng song. Now I'll do another test. I'll just make all of them finish. So we've heard the whole playlist. Now for the last song, it just make it the first one. So this repeat function is working. Now we'll test the final function that we want to repeat the particular song. So now if I fast forward this song, it should just play itself again. Like this. Great. It started again. We can see that everything works. Let's test it on another song. This is the last song of the playlist. Let's see that when it's finished, it should just play the same song again. Great. It works. Let's test the favorite functionality, just in case. And that's it. So now the playlist knows how to behave. When a song is over, it will play the next one. If we want to repeat the whole playlist, it will repeat itself. If not, it will just stop at the last song. And we have the option also to repeat this particular song in the playlist. Now that's great, you guys. You've managed to build here the whole Spotify functionality, and you can just take it in your pocket. Let's try and inspect and see it in mobile mode. The player is like this. It works. We don't have the skip and the previous button because I think it's ugly, but it's your call. You can just add them here. You can make it below this. And now let's see what happens when it's finished. It will play the same song. And let's see what happens when we want to repeat the playlist. It works just like magic. Great. Now that I see this UI in the mobile version, I notice we want to make it centered. So we'll do it right now. And maybe add here a margin of 8 pixels on the top. So I'll go back to the Bubble editor. I'll choose this playlist header group. I'll go to the conditionals and I'll add a condition when the page width is less than 768 pixels. The container alignment should be middle, and also the horizontal alignment should be to the middle. Now it should be better. I'll just test it. That's great. This is how I want it to look like. Now if we play here, we can see the player in the mobile version works perfectly fine. Now to wrap it all up, let's go to the editor. Let's change the colors here to be purple. This is a checked workflow. We know it works and it's related to the player feature. Great, guys. Let's go to the follow along document and just tick off what we finished. So now we allowed the player to accept playlist and we handled all the scenarios that a playlist could have. So we enabled the player to queue and play playlist. We implemented continuous play, so it automatically plays the next song. And we set up repeat options, so we can repeat the playlist and we can repeat the particular song in the playlist. Great job. We'll continue by building the subscription pop-up as a reusable element. But before that, I want to address an issue that we have here with the UI. So when we play a song, we have this player element on top of everything. So if we want to add songs to the playlist, you see that it covers up all of the space and it just cuts off this place. So in order to fix that, I'll want to add some margins from the bottom when the player is visible. So when the player is visible, this element and also those elements should have a 120 margin from the bottom. So I'll go back to the editor and I'll just edit quickly before we jump into the subscription pop-up. So the mobile sidebar should have a condition when player is visible. It should have a bot margin of 120. Now I'll copy this condition and I'll paste it onto the Add Songs reusable. I'll also paste it to the Home Playlist tab. I'll also paste it on the Search or Settings tab. And lastly, I will paste it on the sidebar. But the sidebar has already 8 margins from the bottom, so here it should be 112. Now that we've got it out of the way, let's start and create the subscription pop-up. We can just go to the Create Playlist pop-up. we'll right-click it and clone this reusable element. We'll clone the Create Playlist pop-up into a new reusable element that we're gonna call Subscription Pop-up. Now here we can go to the subscription pop-up layout, change the default builder to be 400 and the min height can be 100. I'll also want to change the padding of the bottom to be 24 and then I'll choose this input. I will delete it. I will take this text element and put it outside of the group, so we have here text, text and a bottom. I'll change this group form row gap to be 16. And now I'll also delete the bottom padding and I will change it to be 0. Now for the first text, I will choose it and I'll change the size to be 18 pixels. I'll choose to unbold and now I'll choose the weight to be extra bold, so 100 weight. For the middle text, I will align it to the middle. I'll change in the appearance the font size to be 14 and the weight should be 500. Now this text should say, listen to music with Spotify Premium. I'll change the create a playlist text to be only for premium users. I'll change this to premium and the button should say subscribe for $9 a month, like this. I'll also want to change this font size to be 14 and I'll bold it. Now I'll go ahead to the layout and change the margins to be 16 from the left and 16 for the right. Great, now I'll just check the workflows that we have. So the show pop-up should be great. This hide icon also works. And for the subscribe button, I'll delete this workflow and we'll create a new one. Now before this workflow, we need to go to the plugins page and add the Stripe plugin. This one, let's install it. The Stripe plugin will allow us to charge a user's credit card and sign him to a subscription. In order to use this plugin, we need to first of all create an account with Stripe. Then we need to create a new project and get the API keys to fill these fields. Those API keys basically connect us to the Stripe project that we've created, and there we can configure a product of $9 a month, and then we can just track all the purchases that we have in our app and make the user subscribe to a plan much easier. So let's go to the Stripe site. So once you're in the Stripe website, you should create an account for yourself, and then you can go here to the dashboard.stripe.com and you'll be in the developers dashboard. Then you can create a new project here. So let's create a new account. It's not a project. Let's call it Spotify. Now that we have a new account for Spotify, we can go ahead to this section and click to copy the publishable key and the secret key. So we just paste it here. So the publishable key is this one and the secret key is this one. Now that we have the keys configured, we've connected to Stripe. I'll change here the Stripe checkout version to be checkout free because I like it better. Then I'll go back to the Stripe dashboard and I'll create a new product. So here you can go to the product catalog and choose the create product option. I'll call it Spotify Premium. For the description I'll write listen to music with Spotify Premium. I'll set it as a recurring payment and I'll set it to $9. Now we can see the billing period is monthly and that's it for the product. So I'll add a product. Great. So now we have a product that is priced $9 per month and we can start charging users for it. I'll go back to the Bubble editor. Now that the Stripe setup is all done, I can go back to the workflow, to the design tab and add a new workflow on this button. This workflow should use the action from the Stripe plugin to subscribe the user to a plan. Now, because we've already provided the secret key and the publishable key, it automatically connected us to the Stripe plan, and here we have only one product that we've created, so it knows exactly what product we want to use. Now I'll just untick this update existing subscription, and that's it. This will trigger the Stripe redirection to the checkout page where we can insert our credit card and start paying for the subscription. Now, after this has happened, I'll want to create a new thing. This thing will be the subscription. I'll set the start date to be the result of step 1, current period starting date. For the subscription ID, I'll set the result of step 1, subscription ID. For the status, I will set it as active, as we've just paid for the subscription. And for the end date, I'll set the result of step 1, current period ending date, and I'll also want to change it to the end of the day. So I'll use the operator change hours to 23, change minutes to 59, and change seconds to 59. So that way we're subscribing the user until the end of the day, a month from now. After I've created the subscription, I want to make a change to the current user. So the change I'm gonna make is setting the subscription field to the result of step 2 that we've just created the subscription. And the last step in this workflow would be the hide an element action, and we'll hide the subscription pop-up. Now we can mark all those workflows in this cyan color because it's related to the subscription flow. Great. Now using this subscription pop-up as a paywall is rather easy because we maintained an organized way of building the app, and now we can just go and add a little step in each workflow that we want to block if the user is not subscribed. So we'll start by adding the paywall to the sidebar and the mobile sidebar. Here in our add icon, we should add a playlist. Now if the user is logged in, it will show us the create playlist pop-up, and if he's logged out, it will show us the login pop-up. But now I want to add a step in between to show us the subscription pop-up. So let's go ahead and add this subscription pop-up onto the page. I'll make the max width 400, and this is fine. Now I'll go back to the workflow tab and trigger a custom event from a reusable element. This reusable element will be the subscription pop-up and will show it. Now I want this to happen only when the current user is logged in and the current user subscription status is not active. So when it's not active, I want to prompt the user to subscribe to the app. Now I'll need to add here the condition that the current user is logged in and the current user subscription status is active. So when it's active, it will just show the create pop-up playlist. Now we have 3 steps here. So if the user isn't logged in, it will first prompt him to log in. Now if the user isn't subscribed, it will prompt it to subscribe. But if he's logged in and also subscribed, it will show him the create playlist pop-up and he'll be free to create a playlist. Now we need to add it also here in the add song workflow. The add song group is already not visible when the user is logged out, so we need only 2 steps here to handle when the user is subscribed or not. So the action to show the create song pop-up should be activated only when the current user subscription status is active. Otherwise, if it's not active, I want to trigger a custom event from a reusable element, the subscription pop-up, and it will show it. And that's only when the current user subscription status is not active. Now we'll need to do the same for the mobile sidebar. Let's add the subscription pop-up onto the page. Let's make the max width 400 pixels. And let's go to the workflow tab to add the same actions. So here I should trigger the custom event from the reusable element subscription pop-up only when the current user is logged in and the current user subscription status is not active. And like in the sidebar, we need to add here the current user is logged in and the current user subscription status is in fact active. That's great. Now let's do the same to the add song. Here it should only show us the add song pop-up when the current user subscription is status is active. Otherwise, I want this action to happen. So it will show us the subscription pop-up and prompt the user to subscribe only when the current user subscription, I'll just copy it and paste it here, the current user subscription status is not active. Then show us the subscription pop-up. And now it's so easy because everything works by the play song or the play playlist workflow. So we just need to add a condition here that if the current user subscription status is active, then this action will be activated. Otherwise, if the subscription is not active, I want to trigger the subscription pop-up. So I'll add the subscription pop-up also here in the index page. I'll set the max width to be 400 and I'll add the action inside the play playlist workflow that will trigger the subscription pop-up show pop-up costume event, and it will only happen if the current user subscription status is not active. Great. Now we can just copy it and add it here in the play song costume event, that if a user tries to play a song and is not subscribed to the app, it will prompt him to subscribe. In the first action, I want to limit it to the current user subscription status is active. So only when it's active, it will actually play the song. Now that's all for adding the paywall. Everything is protected and we can just see how it works. I'll mute our music. Now let's try and add a song. Yeah, I can end the song if I'm not subscribed. I can't add a playlist if I'm not subscribed. I can't play a song if I'm not subscribed. I can't play a playlist if I'm not subscribed. And now let's check the subscribe flow. So here in the button, I'll choose to subscribe for $9. I'll quickly add my details here. Fake details, right? And I'll subscribe. Now that we've subscribed, Stripe redirects us back to the app, and now we can start creating playlists, add songs to the app, and we can also play some songs. See, just as before. So now, if I'm not subscribed, it doesn't let me do any of the actions in the app, and it prompts me to subscribe. And when you're subscribed, all the actions and all the premium features are open to use. That's great, you guys. So we've basically finished with the whole app. We just need to create our settings page. From there we can cancel our subscription. But now let's go to the follow along document and tick off all that we've done. So in the subscription pop-up, we've built the subscription pop-up UI, we're displaying the subscription plan, we're adding the payment integration with Stripe, and we implemented the subscription status update workflows. Now this is done, and we also did in the same video the subscription and paywall. So we added a paywall logic to the key actions. So when we want to play a song, play a playlist, add a playlist, or add a song, we have a paywall that protects us. We're displaying the subscription prompts when the paywall is triggered, and we set up access control based on subscription status. So if it's active or not active. That's great, guys. So we just have one last thing to configure our settings page, and we'll do it right away. Let's build the settings page. It's really not complicated. I'll just open here the Search and Settings tab. I'll add here a group named Settings Container outside of this container, of course. I'll make it the last one, and I'll call it the Settings Container. Now for this groups layout, I'll just add a space between the rows of 16 pixels. I won't show it on page load. And I'll add top and bottom margins of 8 pixels. Now I'll define a condition to make it visible, and it will be visible when the get data from page URL parameter name tab is in fact the option from the option set menu, settings, display. So when the tab from the URL is settings, it will show this settings container. Now inside this group, I can just go to the search container and copy this text search. I'll paste it inside this setting container. I'll change it to be the account settings. I'll copy and paste it again, and I'll change this text to say no active plan, and this will be the state when the subscription status is not active. I'll change the font size to be 16. I'll make it unbold and the weight of 500. Now I'll just define a condition that when the current user subscription status is active, the text should say you are currently on the, I'll just change this typo. Now I'll open these square brackets to bold the text, and I'll write Spotify Premium. And now I'll close these bold brackets like this, plan. So now if the subscription status is active, we'll see this. You are currently on the Spotify Premium plan. I think we also can add 16 margins to the top, and it will be a little nicer. Now we just need to add 2 buttons below this. The first button would be labeled as subscribe. For the design of this button, I'll bold it. I'll change the font color to be the background color, and I'll also make the roundness 20. Now in the layout tab, I'll make the max width of this button 320 pixels. I'll untick the feed width to content checkbox, and also I'll untick the element is visible on page load, and I'll make a condition to make it visible only when the current user subscription status is not active. So when the subscription is not active, he would have a button to subscribe. Now I'll go in the appearance and detach the style in order to delete both of those conditions. Now I can just copy this button and paste it here. And this button will be the opposite of the subscribe button. So we'll show this button only when the current user subscription status is active, and this button will be cancel subscription, like this. Now I'll leave everything the same as the previous button, but I'll only change the background color to be the destructive 40 color. Now this is it for the elements that we need for this page. I'll just add 2 workflows, one for the cancel subscription button that will call the actions cancel the current user's plan. I'll untick this cancel all subscriptions checkbox, and I'll cancel the subscription ID of the current user's subscription ID. Now we know how to find the right subscription ID from Stripe. After that I've canceled the subscription with Stripe, I want to change it also in our app. So I'll make changes to a thing. The thing will be the current user's subscription, and I'll change 2 fields. The first field will be the end date, and the second one will be the status. So the status is cancelled, and the end date will be the current date and time. So now we know exactly when we finished the subscription and when we cancelled it. And now for the subscription button, I'll add a workflow that will just trigger the custom event from the reusable element subscription pop-up, and it shows us the subscription pop-up that we can subscribe from. Now we actually finished. So I'll just make it cyan. That way we know it's related to the subscription flow. I'll just check that it works. So we'll go to the settings page like this. I see that I'm currently on the Spotify Premium plan and I have this cancel subscription button. So I'll choose to cancel my subscription. And now we have no active plan and we can't do everything else. So I'm still logged in. I can't add songs. I can't create a new playlist. And I certainly can't play a playlist. Awesome job, you guys. So you have Spotify right in your pocket. You can just ship it and start charging people and be the competition for Spotify. I'm 100% sure you're gonna win. So let's go to the follow along document, tick off that we've designed the account settings UI and we've built a workflow to cancel the subscription. Great job. Love you guys. Bye.